Chapter 1175. Su Yun's speed was very fast. It only took him a day to enter the immortal world, and he headed straight for the immortal seeking sect. Along the way, he saw many people from the immortal court. They were on guard every 3 steps, and the entire sky was filled with them. When Su Yun passed by, 2 people from the immortal court immediately stopped him. "Halt!" A shout came out. Su Yun was startled and immediately stopped. "What are you doing?" "A routine inspection. The immortal court has ordered that any immortal will be inspected at any time." The immortal shouted, then ran to Su Yun's side, took out a mirror, and after activating it, he started to shine it. Although the energy that leaked out of the mirror was strong, it could not penetrate Su Yun's body, and it was even more impossible to pry into his background. Su Yun was baffled, as though the people from the immortal court did not find anything wrong. Why would there be a routine inspection? Did something happen? Su Yun asked doubtfully. The immortal court has been attacked by the true Devil Realm's demon army. We suspect that these demon realm people are hiding in our immortal world, so we have to undergo an inspection, the immortal court man said as he looked at Su Yun with a mirror. What? Su Yun was shocked. He stared at the immortal court man with his eyes wide open, not daring to believe what he had heard. Why would the people of the demon realm suddenly attack the immortal court? How would I know? The immortal court man rolled his eyes and snorted, but this time, the nature of the matter is too serious. Not only did the people of the demon realm appear in the immortal world, they even formed an army to attack our immortal court's encampment. This time, they attacked the immortal court's encampment. Who knows if they will destroy the immortal court next time? This matter had already attracted the attention of the immortal court's highest leader, and the immortal court had already entered the highest state of alert. Tomorrow, they will issue an order to gather all the righteous people of the immortal world, and prepare to carry out the harshest purge on the demon realm, until the last devil cultivator dies. Exterminate? Su Yun's heart skipped a beat, then he forced a smile and said, "I heard that the devil cultivator have all escaped from the true devil realm. If we were to exterminate them now, how can we find them?" "I heard they went to the underworld." At this time, the immortal said in a low voice. "Underworld?" Yes, the immortal court is truly angry this time. Seems like the higher-ups are preparing to go to the underworld to exterminate the devil cultivator. The netherworld should be very powerful, right? Are the lords of the immortal court really going? No matter how powerful the underworld is, can it be as powerful as the immortal court? The man rolled his eyes at Su Yun and said. Su Yun laughed awkwardly and did not say anything. "All right, you don't have any problems. Let's go." The guy put away the mirror and said, "Oh." Su Yun nodded. Suddenly, he saw an immortal flying away, and the people of the immortal court didn't stop him. He asked, "Why doesn't he need to be checked?" "He's been checked once before, and there's nothing wrong with him. Naturally, he doesn't need to be checked again. Do you see the jade-colored tag hanging on his waist? That's proof that you're innocent. Here, you have one too. Take it and hang it on your body. Otherwise, you'll have to be tested along the way." With that, the immortal took out a jade-colored plate from somewhere and handed it over to Su Yun. Su Yun took it and rubbed the jade-colored plate with his fingers for a moment, carefully sizing it up, and discovered that it was a plate that contained a weak energy, and there seemed to be a tiny array formation inside, but he did not know what it was for. "All right, let's go. Go back to where you came from. If there's anyone around you who doesn't have this plate, tell them to hurry up and do a check, because even if they don't do it now, they'll have to do it in the future." After the immortal court finished speaking, he urged Su Yun to leave quickly. Su Yun did not want to stay any longer, so he took the order badge and left in a hurry. At this moment, his mind was filled with thousands of questions. The devil army attacked the immortal court? What was going on? He had never given such an order. Why would he attack the immortal court for no reason? Furthermore, with the current strength of the devil cultivator, wasn't attacking the immortal court like hitting a rock with an egg? Who made such a stupid decision? Su Yun became more and more anxious, and his speed towards the immortal seeking sect increased to the limit. When he approached the immortal seeking sect, it was still as peaceful as ever, as though nothing big had happened, but the more it was like this, the more Su Yun felt that something was amiss. The commotion of the immortal court outside was already so big, how could the round demon not react? Restricting the immortal seeking sect's devil cultivator from going out was the most important thing. His cultivation was strong, so even if he was investigated, the other party would not be able to find anything, but the devil cultivator in the immortal seeking sect were different. Some of the devil cultivator had already grown to the spirit profound immortal realm, but many of them were still stuck in the spirit sage realm. A sect leader. When the disciples stationed outside the immortal seeking sect saw the person flying over, they were stunned for a moment, then hurriedly cupped their fists and bowed. Yes. Su Yun nodded. Without saying much, he flew inside. The newly recruited disciples were usually sent to guard the perimeter, and the internal members of the immortal seeking sect were also hidden from them. In order to ensure that the matter of the immortal seeking sect being a devil cultivator sect was not revealed, Su Yun told the round demon to hide a lot of things from the new sect members. After entering the immortal seeking sect, Su Yun immediately headed inside. Before he reached the meeting hall, he saw Xiang Yang walking towards him. Xiang Yang greets Master. Xiang Yang bowed to Su Yun respectfully. Yes. Su Yun frowned. He stared at Xiang Yang for a moment, then said, Xiang Yang, immediately gather the round demon, Luluo and Faceless over, I have something to discuss with you all. With that, Su Yun immediately walked into the meeting hall. But Xiang Yang did not immediately go, but hesitated for a moment before cupping his fists and leaving. Su Yun naturally saw Xiang Yang's small movements. His face revealed a trace of doubt, but he did not call out to the immortal seeking sect, and walked into the meeting hall alone, quietly waiting. Very quickly, Su Luluo, Faceless, Xiang Yang, Zijin and the rest walked into the meeting hall. Greetings, Master. Everyone bowed to Su Yun, and then stood to the left and right. Su Yun nodded his head. He swept his gaze across everyone, and then asked indifferently, Where is Elder Yuan Mo? Upon hearing Su Yun's question, everyone lowered their heads in unison and remained silent. Xiang Yang's face was pale white, Su Luluo was calm, and the rest all had different expressions. Seeing everyone's expressions, Su Yun's heart secretly jumped. He frowned and raised his voice by an octave. Why is no one answering me? Where's Elder Yuan Mo? Everyone remained silent. Seeing that, Su Yun's eyes flashed with anger. Xiang Yang was so scared that his entire body was trembling. Faceless and the rest were also afraid, especially Zijin, who was almost unable to stand steadily. But Su Luluo, who was standing there, spoke softly at this time. Big brother, Elder Yuan Mo is dead. She said it very softly and slowly, but to Su Yun, this sentence was like a lightning strike. He opened his eyes wide and stared at Su Luluo, his already pale face becoming even paler. What are you talking about? He muttered. Elder Yuan Mo is dead. Su Luluo closed his eyes and repeated the cruel words again. Su Yun could not believe his ears. His hand tightly gripped the armrest of the seat. The armrest had already been crushed into powder. My lord, please calm your anger. Below, Xiang Yang hurriedly said. What the hell is going on? What exactly happened while I was away? Su Yun said in a low voice. His voice was like ice falling into an ice cellar. Xiang Yang bit his lower lip, wanting to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he could not say them. Let me say it. Just then, Su Luluo bowed to Su Yun and spoke slowly. She spoke in detail. Ever since Su Yun left, the Immortal Court had sent investigators into the Immortal Seeking Sect to investigate them one by one, to the Immortal Seeking Sect's plan to divert the suspects. Su Yun listened quietly. His face was pale white, his expression tensed up, making it impossible to tell what he was thinking. Elder Yuan Mo did not wish for Faceless to be exposed, thus exposing the immortal seeking sect, so he chose to commit suicide, so that the people of the Immortal Court would not be able to find any clues. Although we wanted to save Elder Yuan Mo, we were unable to do so. Big brother, I'm sorry, this is all Liulua's fault. If it wasn't for my lack of consideration, Elder Yuan Mo would not have died. Su Luluo said in a low voice. Su Yun clenched his fist. Has the Immortal Court already suspected us? The Immortal Court sent an envoy to find out that the person who plundered the Immortal Pool had fled in the direction of the Immortal Seeking Sect, so they sent people to investigate. In order to prevent the Immortal Court from continuing to suspect the Immortal Seeking Sect, the young miss ordered Qin Qianlong and the others to feign an attack on the Immortal Court to divert their attention. Zi Jin said weakly. Envoy. Su Yun clenched his teeth and said, So that means I was the one who killed Elder Yuan Mo. Brother, don't blame yourself. No one wants something like this to happen. Su Luluo comforted her. Su Yun did not say anything, he only lowered his head. No one knew what he was thinking. The meeting hall quietened down, and the atmosphere became extremely solemn. Does Octagon Aniseed know about this? After a long while, Su Yun asked. We have already sent people to the underworld. I believe the true devil sect should know about it as well. On the way, I found out that the Immortal Court has already begun to form a force to head to the underworld to exterminate the devil cultivator. We should quickly inform Octagon Aniseed about this matter, and let him make a plan. The Immortal Court knows that the true devil realm has already entered the underworld, but they still dare to head towards the underworld. It can be seen that the Immortal Court is confident in eradicating the true devil realm. We do not know much about the underworld, and do not know if the underworld can defeat the Immortal Court, and even if they can, will they become enemies with the Immortal Court for the sake of the devil cultivator? I don't know about all of this, Su Luluo said softly. Su Yun took a deep breath, slowly stood up, and said solemnly, Since Elder Yuan Mo is dead, then, I do not want him to die in vain. If the Immortal Court wants to exterminate the devil cultivator, we cannot remain indifferent. Chapter 1176. As the law of the immortal world, the Immortal Court had always been the embodiment of justice. Su Yun did not know what the people of the Devil Realm had done wrong, and why the Immortal Court wanted to eradicate the people of the Devil Realm time and time again. He had led the Yuan Demon and the others into the immortal world for the sake of survival, but the Immortal Court was too aggressive. He understood that he could no longer remain silent. After Qin Qianlong and the rest feigned an attack, they retreated from the Immortal Court in time, and did not leave anything for the Immortal Court. However, this kind of feigned attack could not be hidden from everyone, and there were still people who would have thoughts of it, because Qin Qianlong and the rest had not fought with the main forces of the Immortal Court. Furthermore, when they were investigating the Immortal Seeking Sect, the Devil Cultivator came. How could they not be suspicious? The Immortal Court also had an existence that could pry into the past and the future. Su Yun could not guarantee that the Immortal Court would not find out about the Immortal Seeking Sect in the future. Brother, what do you plan to do? If we fight against the Immortal Court now, we will be hitting a rock with an egg. We have no chance of winning. Hearing Su Yun's words, Su Luluo immediately said, Now that things have come to this, we have no other way out. Su Yun said in a deep voice, Although you guys have concealed it, it is only a matter of time before the Immortal Seeking Sect is exposed. Big Brother plans to give up on the Immortal Seeking Sect? The Eight Harmonies Sect and the Great Ling Long Palace are not involved with the Immortal Seeking Sect yet, but the Hidden Dragon Hall and the Carefree Palace are nominally allies of the Immortal Seeking Sect. If I were to give up on the Immortal Seeking Sect, then I would have to give up on 3 sects at the same time. Su Yun started to think. If that's the case, then wouldn't all our years of hard work have been in vain? Xiang Yang muttered, it wasn't easy for us to establish such a power. Although we can't fight against the immortal court, we can still fight against any of the super-immortal sections. Once we lose these 3 sects, we will have to start all over again. I know you guys can't bear to part with it. In fact, I can't bear to part with it either. Su Yun took a deep breath and said softly, but, no matter what we do, the immortal court can use the envoy to capture our movements. This time, Qin Qianlong and the rest did not leave any traces when they pretended to attack, and once they left any traces, even they would be exposed. As long as the immortal court has people like the envoy, we will always be in a passive position. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's expression turned serious. Big brother, if we send someone to assassinate the immortal court's envoy, then wouldn't we have the initiative? At this time, Su Luluo spoke up. Assassination? This was an extremely bold statement. The immortal court is heavily guarded. It's impossible to kill someone inside, said Faceless, who had been silent all this while. That's right. I'm afraid it's already extremely difficult to sneak in. It's simply unrealistic to assassinate them. Xiang Yang also shook his head. No, there's still a chance. Just then, Su Yun suddenly spoke. Everyone was stunned and looked at him in unison. Su Yun rubbed his chin and thought for a moment, then said indifferently, isn't the immortal court organizing people to go to the underworld to fight against the devil cultivator? If that's the case, there should be some gaps in the defenses of the celestial court. Perhaps we can take this opportunity to sneak into the celestial court and assassinate the minister envoy. Hearing this, everyone started to ponder. After a long while, Su Luluo nodded his head. Maybe it will work. Zijin, do you know how many ministers' envoys there are in the immortal court? Su Yun turned and asked Zijin. Zijin had communicated with Xiao Chua and started to gather information about the immortal court. After all, the biggest threat to Su Yun was the immortal court. As far as I know, there should be 15 of them, but this is only on the surface. Zijin does not know if there are any higher-level envoys. How many envoys like Yuan Tianya who occasionally go out to carry out missions? These 15 will all go out to carry out missions, but the envoys will rarely receive missions that leave the immortal court. Zijin said. Su Yun frowned. I need a complete report of the number of people. During this period of time, I need to think of a way to find out how many envoys there are in the immortal court. I will temporarily include these 15 people on the list, and when the time is right, I will immediately take action. If we kill these 15 people now, I'm afraid it will arouse the suspicion of the immortal court. If the immortal court has a higher-level envoy, they will definitely protect them even more strictly. So, when we find out whether or not the higher-level envoys exist and where they are, we will take action together. These envoys cannot have died for more than 10 days, otherwise we will not have any chance. Big brother, don't worry, I will get Xiao Chua to investigate. Su Luluo said, then turned and left. Xiang Yang, immediately send people to transfer all the Devil Cultivator S out of the Immortal Seeking sect, and temporarily arrange for them to stay in the ultimate martial world. Are we going to transfer them now? Xiang Yang was startled. If so many people from our sect suddenly leave, I'm afraid it will arouse the suspicions of the people around us. Don't worry, I will borrow a group of people to fill their positions, Su Yun said indifferently. If he wanted to find someone, there were a lot of people on Bai Yang's side. It would not be difficult to change all the Devil Cultivator S of the Immortal Seeking sect. As long as the Devil Cultivator S of the Immortal Seeking sect were fine, even if the people of the Immortal Court investigated, there was no need to panic. However, as long as the envoy did not die, Su Yun would never be able to make a move. All right. Xiang Yang nodded, cupped his fists and said, then this subordinate will do it now. Yes. After Xiang Yang and Su Luluo left, Zijin reported to Su Yun about the recent movements of the Immortal Court, and then immediately retreated, leaving only Faceless alone in the meeting room. Su Yun took a deep breath, his gaze shifted, and looked at the large sword sheath beside him. Qing'er was still in the sword sheath, and had yet to make any movements. Master, actually, there is no need to transfer manpower from the ultimate martial world. If Master is willing, this subordinate's former subordinates can actually fill in the Immortal Seeking sect and replace that group of Devil Cultivator. Just then, Faceless suddenly said. Su Yun frowned. He raised his eyes and stared at Faceless, then shook his head. If you have fewer people, won't the Immortal Court investigate their whereabouts? The current immortal world is already extremely sensitive. Any slight movement will attract the attention of the Immortal Court. Faceless, you will be in charge of this mission. When Zijin sends news, I hope to take care of those envoys in the shortest amount of time possible. Master, please forgive this subordinate for being incompetent. If it's those 15 envoys, this subordinate has the confidence to take care of them, but if there are even higher-level envoys, and they are in the Immortal Court, I'm afraid this subordinate will be powerless. Faceless cupped his fists and said, if the matter was exposed, it was not a matter of death, but a matter of exposure. Faceless' heart was controlled by Su Yun, so he naturally did not dare to have any other thoughts. Su Yun understood Faceless' worries and said indifferently, you don't have to worry. If there are higher-level envoys in the Immortal Court, you don't have to do anything. Then who should take care of it? Me. Su Yun said indifferently. Inside the Jingyu Palace, as usual, Lin Yujing was meditating in the alchemy room. The furnace was burning red from the fire and the temperature in the room was thousands of degrees. However, he was sitting there as if nothing had happened, not feeling the slightest bit of discomfort. Ta-ta-ta. Just then, light footsteps came from outside, followed by a female voice. Kai Lu greets Sect Leader. Sect Leader, Kai Lu has something important to report. It's Elder Kai Lu, come in and talk. Lin Yujing said indifferently. Creak. The door was pushed open, and a lady dressed in flowery clothes walked in and bowed respectfully to Lin Yujing. What is it? Lin Yujing continued to meditate with his eyes closed, but he spoke. Reporting to Sect Leader, Ming Chong is dead. The elder called Kai Lu said. With that said, Lin Yujing's eyebrows twitched a few times, but his face did not change much. How did he die? It is said that he was killed by the vice president of Beiyang Commerce, Hu Qianmei. Where's Ah Kong? He's dead too, Kai Lu said. Hearing this, Lin Yujing could not hold it in anymore. He suddenly opened his eyes, turned his head and stared at Kai Lu, and said, Ah Kong is also dead? Yes. Kai Lu nodded. Lin Yujing stared at the pill furnace, as if he was thinking about something. Ah Kong is my disciple. He has the cultivation of the third stage of the spirit profound immortal realm. I am very clear about his strength. Ordinary immortals are not his match. Even if it is an existence stronger than him, it would not be so easy to kill him. Unless it is an existence stronger than him by 2 stages, then he would not even have the chance to escape. But why would a 5th stage spirit profound immortal suddenly appear in the ultimate martial world? Kai Lu was puzzled. If a 5th stage spirit profound immortal were to casually enter the ultimate martial world, it would be extremely easy to be discovered by the Immortal Court. Could it be that Ah Kong's death is related to the Immortal Court? In that case, Beiyang Commerce is related to the Immortal Court? Lin Yujing shook his head and said indifferently, the Immortal Court is rich and overbearing, there are no other powers in the myriad worlds, and Beiyang Commerce will definitely not climb up to the Immortal Court, so the person who killed Ah Kong should not be from the Immortal Court. Then who could it be? You have to ask the Vice President of Beiyang Commerce. Lin Yujing said indifferently. Kai Lu was silent for a moment, then nodded. Sect Leader, I know what to do. Oh right, you said that this Hu Qianmei is the Vice President of Beiyang Commerce. Then who is the President? At this time, Lin Yujing seemed to have thought of something and immediately asked. However, when he asked this question, Kai Lu was startled for a moment, then shook his head. I have already sent people to investigate, but there are no results. Who is this Xing Hui? It seems to be deliberately kept a secret. Without reading minds, it is difficult to find out. I believe that other than Hu Qianmei and Huai Rou Mu Yu, no one else knows. Perhaps Ah Kong's death is related to this Xing Hui. Send someone to investigate. If you can easily kill Ah Kong, then it is most likely someone from the immortal world. You must investigate clearly. Do not let others take the initiative. Yes, sect leader. Chapter 1177. With Ming Chang eliminated, Hu Qianmei smoothly took over the heavenly dragon domain and the realm that Ming Chang conquered. To be able to eliminate Ming Chang, Hu Qianmei and Huairou Mu Yu had already proven their strength to the people of the ultimate martial world, who would dare to object. After obtaining the resources of the heavenly dragon domain and the nearby realms, Beiyang commerce's strength was already unprecedentedly strong. Although they could not even compare to an immortal sect in the immortal world, but with half of the ultimate martial world under their control, it was too easy for them to obtain resources to supply Su Yun. It had to be known that many of the resources in the immortal world were already controlled by the immortal court, so it was extremely difficult to mine new resources or get a share of the resources in their hands. But it was different now. The ultimate martial world, this huge realm, had provided Su Yun with too many things. Even the immortal court could not compare to it. Although they were not as strong as the immortal sects, their wealth surpassed many of the immortal sections. When Su Yun learned that Huairou Mu Yu had expanded the Chamber of Commerce to the nearby realm, he immediately ordered Xiang Yang to arrange a few reliable people to enter the ultimate martial world and secretly observe the movements of Beiyang. He could not guarantee that Lin Yujing would not take action. He needed to pay attention to the Beiyang, but he needed to pay more attention to the immortal court. Su Yun never thought that after he left for a while, such a thing would actually happen. With the death of the round demon, he did not know how to explain it to Octagon Aniseed. If not for the round demon, Su Yun would not have achieved what he had today. Thinking back to the days when he was in the true devil sect, Su Yun could not help but clench his fists. He sat in the discussion hall for an entire day. He did not cultivate, nor did he look for anyone to discuss, until the second day, when Ling Qingyu could not help but fly out from the sword sheath and stood in front of him. What are you thinking about? The road ahead. Back then, you said that as long as you found Qing you would bring the people you care about and leave this place. But now I have no choice. I cannot abandon the true devil sect and leave. If not for the true devil sect, I, Su Yun, would have died a long time ago, and I am afraid Qing would not have been saved so easily. Other than that, there is also the sword ancestor, and this sword sheath must have enough spirit swords to suppress it. If not, when the evil sword appears, the 10,000 worlds will definitely be destroyed. Heh, I didn't expect you to be so righteous. This is my responsibility. I'm not a saint. You look like a saint to me now. Ling Qingyu chuckled and sat on a chair at the side. Su Yun glanced at her and asked, "How's Qing?" "It's still the same." Ling Qingyu shook her head. "In the end, she is the reincarnation of an almighty being. The water of the immortal pool should have stimulated the power in her soul, causing her to need to sleep for a long time, to allow this power to slowly awaken. As for when she will wake up, no one knows. If Qing successfully transforms this time, what realm would her strength increase to? She should be even stronger than before she reincarnated." Ling Qingyu took a deep breath. "But in this period of time, you have to be careful. Do not let her be in danger, and safely pass through the transformation period. If she can successfully transform, I believe it will be of great help to you. I don't want her to be able to help me. I just want her to be safe and sound." Su Yun shook his head. Ling Qingyu looked at him silently for a while, then laughed bitterly. "You always think for others, but have you never considered their feelings? Do you think it's enough to keep the people around you safe? Don't you know that the people around you also want you to be safe and sound? They also want to use their power to protect you, do you know that? Hearing that, Su-yun was startled. He remained silent, and no one could guess what he was thinking. Ling Qingyu sighed slightly and said, "You are constantly becoming stronger because of your opportunities, luck and hard work. The difference in strength between you and the people around you is getting bigger and bigger, but you have to know, the people around you are also working hard, they also have dreams, they have goals, you don't have to help them complete their dreams, if not, you will deny their meaning, do you understand?" With that, Ling Qingyu did not emphasize anything else. He immediately turned and leaped, transforming into a ray of light, and entered the sword sheath. Su-yun sat there quietly, thinking about Ling Qingyu's words. Actually, what Ling Qingyu said sometimes was extremely important to him, although she was stored in the sword sheath. But for some reason, Su-yun realized that she could see things more clearly than him. Was it because she was a bystander? Su-yun sat there for another 2 days. In these 2 days, unexpectedly, no one came to bother him. On the 3rd day, Su Luluo returned. It has been confirmed, the immortal court will directly head towards the underworld after all the sects have gathered. It is said that half of the envoys below the 3rd level of the immortal court will participate in this operation, and the leaders will be 2-stage 2 profound envoys. When Su Luluo entered the house, he did not even have the time to bow and immediately spoke. "Send so much power?" Su-yun frowned. "Seems like the immortal court is determined to eradicate the devil cultivator this time. After all, they have fought their way to the entrance of the immortal court. If they do not take action, I am afraid that the entire myriad heavens realm and the entire immortal world will laugh at them. How will they restrain the immortals in the future?" "That's true. How many immortal sects have responded to the immortal court this time?" "There are more than 50. "More than 50? Su-yun was shocked. "So many?" "Yes." Su Luluo nodded his head. And this time, the immortal court did not limit the number of people. Seeing that the immortal court had also brought out so much power, these sects did not have any misgivings and sent out half of their forces. Of course, their goal was also to reap benefit. This time, they are going to the underworld. The underworld should be much stronger than we imagined. What benefits can they get? I don't know about this. Su-yun lowered his head and thought. After a while, he asked, "How many people have gathered at the immortal court?" "About 30 sections. According to the reports, the number of immortals gathered outside the immortal court, excluding the ones from the immortal court itself, had already exceeded 1,000,000. Luluo reckons that if we add in the immortals that arrived later on and the power of the immortal court itself, the number of immortals should exceed 5,000,000. 5,000,000, and most of them are experts. This kind of lineup is completely enough to eradicate all the power of the immortal sects in my hand." Su-yun clenched his fists, his eyebrows furrowed as he thought. "Big brother, shouldn't we take action?" "Action? How should we act? Should we bring our men to fight them head-on? Our people are not their match at all, and the result of fighting will only expose our existence, unless you have the confidence to exterminate them all." Su Luluo did not say a word and bit his lip. "At this time we should not move." Su-yun rubbed his chin and said, "Let's think of a way to deal with the envoy first. I estimate that the immortal court will need at least a month to leave for the underworld, and the existence of the envoy will make us hesitate in any action we take against the immortal court, and we will not be able to take the initiative, but Xiaochua's position in the immortal court is simply too low, and she is unable to provide us with more comprehensive information, so we must think of a way to raise her position in the immortal court. Xiaochua is just a spirit-seeking envoy. If a spirit-seeking envoy wants to be promoted, he must have outstanding contributions in the area of spirit-seeking. For example, find a spirit mine with abundant resources. Then arrange for a spirit mine's resources to be found by Xiaochua. This shouldn't be difficult for us. Yes. In addition, remove the current Minister of Resources. Su Yun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Faceless should be able to do this job. If Xiao Chua is able to advance to the 5th stage, then we can arrange for more people to enter the Immortal Court. This will be a long battle, let's wait and see. Yes. Beiyang, Huai-Ro Chamber of Commerce Headquarters. A group of luxuriously dressed spirit cultivator lined up on both sides, like courtiers, and walked towards the gigantic palace in the center. This was Huai-Ro Muyu's meeting hall. The building was newly built this year. Huai-Ro Muyu was not willing to waste it, but Hu Qianmei strongly requested for a new meeting hall. After all, they did not lack money the least. At the moment, Huai-Ro Muyu was already waiting in the meeting hall. As usual, Hu Qianmei was hiding and cultivating. She was the most unwilling to participate in such a meeting. These luxuriously dressed spirit cultivators were the people in charge of Huai-Ro Muyu's Chamber of Commerce branch in various regions. They would come every 3 months to report on their work. The people who came in reported their work one by one. Huai-Ro Muyu listened attentively. She had always been very careful. Perhaps she did not have any talent in cultivation, but her talent in business was unparalleled. The current Beiyang Chamber of Commerce could be called an empire, and the newly merged Sky Dragon Domain and other realms had also begun to implement the Beiyang Chamber of Commerce's operation model. In order to prevent people like Ming Chang from appearing again, Huai-Ro Muyu specially asked Hu Qianmei to be in charge of building a Chamber of Commerce army to defend against external forces. Although Hu Qianmei was not interested in it, Huai-Ro Muyu was still worried. The report lasted for an entire day, but Huai-Ro Muyu did not feel tired. She was still in high spirits and listened attentively, which made the people below admire her. In the future, please work harder. The development of the Chamber of Commerce cannot be separated from everyone. If there is nothing else, this meeting will end here. After the last person in charge finished his report, Huai-Ro Muyu stood up and said, Muyu has already prepared some good banquets for everyone to recuperate. I have prepared some wine, everyone can go back after you finish eating. When the people in charge heard this, they immediately bowed and said, Thank you, President. Everyone dispersed one by one, and when the last person left the meeting hall, Huai-Ro Muyu let out a long sigh and sat on a chair. She looked at the golden ceiling and was lost in thought. No one knew what she was thinking, but her pretty and sweet face was expressionless. Just then, a weird little head popped out from outside the door, and a petite figure took advantage of Huai-Ro Muyu's inattention and tiptoed in. Qin, what's the matter? Just as the figure walked in, Huai-Ro Muyu immediately spoke. Chapter 1178. The little girl called Qin was Huai-Ro Muyu's cousin, Huai-Ro Han Qin. Hearing her cousin's words, Huai-Ro Han Qin immediately pouted, her face full of unhappiness. Big sister is bullying me for being weak. I did not use spirit chi, you are right in front of me, how can I not see you? Huai-Ro Muyu shook her head. Why are you here? Are you not training properly? Are you being lazy? Big sister, training every day is very annoying. Huai-Ro Han Qin's face was full of unhappiness. She walked to the chair at the side and sat down. But if you don't train, how can you survive in this cruel world? Qin, you are still young, you do not understand the dangers of the world. Cultivation will always be your life insurance, you must remember this. But big sister, I can't win against you. Huai-Ro Han Qin surrendered. Huai-Ro Muyu shook her head, her eyes filled with doting. She walked over and raised her finger, causing a sparkling and resplendent card to appear in her hand. Are you out of money again? Take it, save some money this time. Huai-Ro Muyu said gently. Big sister knows me the best. Huai-Ro Han Qin immediately beamed with joy, and immediately took the card. If you use cultivation coins to train, big sister will give you as much as you want, but you use it all day to buy all sorts of strange things. I wonder if you have been cheated by others. Since big sister is rich, I am not afraid. Your big sister is also working for others, how can I be considered rich? Working for others. Huai Rohan Chin was startled and asked, Who? The president of this organization. Isn't the president big sister? Your big sister is just a vice president. I work for others. There's actually such a thing. Huai Rohan Chin obviously did not understand. Huai Romu shook her head. She could not be bothered to explain, and said, Since you are here, then follow big sister out for a walk. It has been a long time since I went out to relax. Yes. Huai Rohan Chin nodded her head. She pulled Huai Romuyu's hand and walked out. But before Huai Romuyu walked out of the palace, a servant anxiously ran over and bowed to Huai Romuyu. Reporting to President, there is someone outside requesting an audience. Who? I don't know. He only said that he was someone from the Jingyu Imperial Palace. The attendant said. Jingyu Emperor Palace? Huai Romuyu's face changed. Before Su Yun left, he had told her that Ming Chang might be from the celestial sect of the celestial world, and told her to be careful. Huai Romuyu did not mind, although the ultimate martial world and the celestial world did not interact much, but she understood a few things about the celestial world from Su Yun. The immortals of the celestial world could not do whatever they wanted. After all, there were restrictions from the celestial court. Although the Jingyu Emperor Palace was strong, in front of the immortal court, they were just ants, and did not dare to go against their will, so how could they dare to be impudent in the ultimate martial world? But Huai Romuyu never thought that the people from Jingyu Emperor Palace would actually come here, and even request to see her. If the people from Jingyu Emperor Palace came, wouldn't that mean that an immortal wanted to see him? Huai Romuyu frowned. After thinking for a moment, she said softly, Bring him to me. Yes, guild leader. After the attendant finished speaking, he turned and left. Huai Rohan Chin, who was at the side, was confused. She did not understand what Huai Romuyu was talking about, and asked innocently, Sister, what's wrong? Who's here? Oh, it's nothing. It's just that a business person came over. Chin. Maybe big sister doesn't have time to play with you now. Big sister still has some matters to attend to. Go play with cousin brother. Ah. Huai Rohan Chin's face was filled with unwillingness as she left the meeting hall dejectedly. Very quickly, a servant brought a man dressed in white with a sword in his hand and walked in. The man was extremely handsome. His figure was tall and broad, his eyebrows like swords and eyes like stars. His face looked as though it was carved by blades and axes. His entire body was brimming with yang qi, and he was extremely handsome. No matter which girl saw such a man, their heart would palpitate with excitement, and what was even more eye-catching was his temperament. He was dressed in white. His long hair was tied up by a snow-white hairband. He was elegant and refined. He was extremely natural. The man walked in with a smile on his face. When he saw Huai Romuyu, a light flashed past his eyes. He walked into the hall and cupped his fists to greet. He laughed. Li Zizai greets Guild Leader Huai Ro. Guild Leader Huai Ro is truly as the rumors say. You are elegant and refined. Your style is peerless. Even fairies are unable to compare to you. His voice was extremely magnetic, and when it came out, it actually caused people to feel a bone-numbing feeling. Huai Romuyu frowned again, but her voice became indifferent. Sire is overpraising me. I am not praising you, but merely stating the truth. Sire, did you come here to praise Muyu? Huai Romuyu shook her head. She maintained her indifferent attitude. Sire is from the Jingyu Emperor Palace. You are an immortal. For an immortal to come to my small place, it should be more than this, right? Guild Leader Huai Ro truly understands. Even though you know I am an immortal, your expression did not change. Powerful, powerful. The difference between immortals and mortals is nothing more than the difference in cultivation, the difference in mental state. In the end, weren't immortals also mortals in the past? That's true, I was too mindful of it. The man laughed, but did not show any awkwardness. He continued, I am here because I have something to discuss with guild leader Huai-Ro. What do you want to discuss? Ming Chang's matter. The man called Li Zizai directly said. Huai-Ro Mu Yu obviously knew the reason why he was here, and was not surprised. She asked, Are you here to seek justice for Ming Chang? Ming Chang is useless. If he is dead, then he is dead. Why seek justice for him? Li Zizai laughed. When I entered the door, young Miss did not ask which sect the Jingyu Emperor Palace was, but directly invited me in, and after I entered, young Miss did not ask me. From this, it can be seen that young Miss knows that Ming Chang is from the Jingyu Emperor Palace. I do not know what method young Miss used to obtain this information from Ming Chang, but I know, young Miss must have connections with the people of the immortal world, right? Connections are connections, but Ming Chang died in my hands, not because of the interference of the immortals. Even if your immortal world's so-called immortal court comes to investigate, this is the only result. But your Jingyu Emperor Palace is different. Ming Chang is from your Jingyu Emperor Palace, and you even sent an immortal to interfere in the matters of the ultimate martial world. According to the rules set by the immortal court, you have already violated the rules. If you want to fight, I think, the ones who will suffer in the end will be you. I understand, young Miss does not need to explain. Ming Chang's death is naturally not the interference of the immortals, but young Miss, even if our Jingyu Emperor Palace cannot pursue the matter of Ming Chang's death because of the immortal court, shouldn't you give us an explanation? After all, our people died in your hands. Even if we don't settle it openly, shouldn't we settle this matter in private? Li Zizai laughed. His face was harmless. Did you come here for this? Does young Miss think that I have other motives? Since that's the case, then what does your Jingyu Emperor Palace want us to do? Huai-Ro Mu Yu said unhurriedly. Since this was the ultimate martial world and was under the protection of the immortal court, she did not believe that the Jingyu Emperor Palace would dare to make a move here. Li Zizai was not in a hurry to answer, but walked around the discussion hall, his gaze sweeping across the dazzling decorations, and after a while, his gaze returned to Huai-Ro Mu Yu and laughed. Huai-Ro Chamber of Commerce is currently like the sun in the sky. The power in young Miss's hands is already known as the #1 power in the ultimate martial world. The resources in your hands are shockingly huge, but a portion of them are plundered from Ming Chang, young Miss Huai-Ro. Actually, the reason why our Jingyu Emperor Palace sent Ming Chang to the ultimate martial world is very simple. We only hope that he can establish a foundation here, gather the resources here, and provide them to the Jingyu Emperor Palace. That's all. If young Miss is willing to give a portion of the resources in your hands to us, then, not only will we not pursue this matter, we will also provide protection to your Beiyang Chamber of Commerce. What do you think? How much do you want? Of course it's half. No. Huai-Ro Mu Yu rejected without hesitation. I can only give you 10%. At least 40%. 10%. 30%. 10%. Seems like young Miss does not have the sincerity to negotiate with our Jingyu Emperor Palace. Li Zizai laughed. There was no anger on his face. If I do not have sincerity, I am afraid you will not even be able to see me. Hee, I will definitely be able to see you. It's just that I will not walk in like this, young Miss. Is there no room for discussion? In truth, I cannot make the decision. The 10% is the result of my consideration. As for how much, it will depend on the president's decision. Huai-Ro Mu Yu said indifferently. Could it be that young Miss Huai-Ro is working for someone else? Yes. Immortals? No. Huai-Ro Mu Yu replied straightforwardly. This was out of Li Zizai's expectations. Although Huai-Ro Mu Yu said that she was the one who killed Ming Chang, neither Huai-Ro Mu Yu nor Li Zizai believed her. Maybe Ming Chang could have been killed by Huai-Ro Mu Yu, but what about the immortals by Ming Chang's side? An immortal was an invincible existence in the ultimate martial world. How could he die so easily? He was startled for a moment, then laughed. How long do you need? It will probably take some time if you are in a hurry. Haha, I am not in a hurry. If young Miss Huai-Ro does not mind, I will stay in the organization for the time being. I will wait for news, no rush, no rush. Li Zizai laughed. With that said, Huai-Ro Muyu frowned, but she could not reject him. She took a deep breath and shouted, "Men, arrange a place for young Master Li to stay, bring him to rest." "Yes, President." Immediately, a servant walked in and led Li Zizai away. Chapter 1179. Oh? Jing Yu Imperial Palace sent people to Beiyang? Inside the Immortal Seeking Sex meeting room, Su Yun looked at Su Luluo, who had come to report in shock. Yes, but only one person was sent. He went alone to discuss with Huairomuyu, hoping to get Huairomuyu to give a portion of the resources she currently occupies to Jing Yu Imperial Palace regarding Ming Chang's matter. How much does he want? 30%. That person promised that if possible, Jing Yu Imperial Palace will provide protection to Huairomuyu. The two families will work together and divide up the ultimate martial world. Su Luluo said. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and thought, is Lin Yujing so lacking in resources to develop? As far as I know, the spirit mine outside Jing Yu Imperial Palace is enough for them to develop. Although they have experienced so many twists and turns, and Jing Yu Imperial Palace's strength has been greatly damaged, but this has not harmed their muscles and bones. Why would he place his attention on the ultimate martial world? I also feel that it's very strange. Su Luluo thought for a while, then said, if it was half of the ultimate martial world's resources, that would make sense, but Lin Yujing's request was only for Huairomuyu to occupy 30% of the resources. He only wants this 30%? If that's the case, then there's no need at all. Spending some manpower and time to go to the immortal world to find and mine new mines is much better than this. Why would he do this? Has there been any news from Jing Yu Imperial Palace's spies? During this period of time, Lin Yujing has been in closed-door cultivation, and the people of Jing Yu Imperial Palace rarely leave the sect. It is very peaceful, and even a portion of the spies that the Immortal Court has planted in them have been taken away. It seems like they plan to quietly develop during this period of time. Lin Yujing is not that kind of person. Su Yun exhaled and said indifferently, right now we still need to deal with the Immortal Court's actions. Jing Yu Imperial Palace is indeed not a good enemy. Pass the order to Huairomuyu, give Jing Yu Imperial Palace 20%, but only 20% of the resources of the Beiyang region. Nothing else will be given. Even if they occupy the resources of the new realm, they will not be given a share. If they agree, then forget it. If they do not, then let them scram. Yes, brother. Su Luluo nodded and left. Amongst these sects, the Feather Emperor Palace was not the strongest, but he was the most mysterious. What Su Yun cared about the most was Lin Yujing. He had yet to see through him, but he was sure that there was a mysterious power behind him. Su Yun was not afraid of Lin Yujing, it was just that he did not know anything about this power, so it was better not to provoke them for the time being. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. Su Yun looked over and saw Xiang Yang rushing in. My lord! Xiang Yang, what's the matter? It's urgent, my lord. Seeing the anxious look on Xiang Yang's face, he took out a letter from the space bag and handed it over to Su Yun. Su Yun frowned. With a grab of his hand, the letter flew into his palm. My lord, this is a letter from the Immortal Courts. Xiao Ling said that this letter is the key to the Prime Minister's mission. Really? Su Yun stared at the letter, feeling suspicious. He opened it, only to see that there were only 9 words written on the letter. Zhan Zhuiyang, 7 days later, Wentai City. Zhan Zhuiyang? Wentai City? Su Yun was startled. He stared at Xiang Yang and said, Xiang Yang, do you know who Zhan Zhuiyang is? Zhan Zhuiyang? This subordinate has heard of him. He seems to be the Minister of Revenue of the Immortal Court, a rank 4 envoy. All the positions in the immortal court are managed by him. Xiangyang said. With that said, Su Yun immediately revealed a look of understanding. So that's how it is. Master, what's wrong? Xiangyang was confused. But Su Yun did not have time to explain. He stood up and said, Where did Faceless go first? He's still waiting for orders in the sect. Let him prepare, we will head to Wontai City now. Xiangyang did not understand what was going on with Su Yun, but he could not ask, so he cupped his fists and said, Yes. Xiangyang retreated to prepare, and Su Yun immediately moved. Not long after, Faceless came over to report. He did not explain to Faceless, and directly led his men out of the sect. Wontai City was a free immortal city that did not belong to any immortal sect. It was huge and had no city lord, but it was also restricted by the immortal court, so it was not chaotic. The immortal court had sent a team to guard the city, but the so-called guards were just for show. The immortals in the city were still very free. Wontai City was extremely far from the immortal seeking sect. The two of them moved at full speed, and spent a full 5 days to reach Wontai City. There was no need to enter the city, because of the freedom here. Many rogue immortals started to do business here. The frequent flow of goods also attracted a large number of immortals. Just as the two of them approached the city, they could see immortals coming and going. It was very lively. Why would a rank 4 emissary of the immortal court come all the way here for no reason? Su Yun stared at the city gate, his heart filled with suspicions. Because the mission was a confidential mission, Xiao Chua did not receive much information. Su Luluo had already arranged a spirit mine for Xiao Chua to explore. Chen Xinxing of the resources department was already dead. Xiao Chua could use this opportunity to take over. Master, what should we do now? Let's enter the city first. Su Yun said indifferently. He descended from the sky, stepping on the clouds. He walked towards Wontai City. Faceless followed closely behind. Upon entering the city, the scene in front of them was extremely dazzling. The immortals were all wearing different clothes. Some were elegant and refined, some were bright red and purple, some were emitting light from their bodies, while some were tattered. There were also a large number of spirit beasts in the city. There were even many beasts that were proficient in human language. It was truly surprising. Su Yun and Faceless entered the city gate, and just like that, they wandered aimlessly in the city. The majority of the buildings in the city were shops and pill furnace houses. There were some areas that were specially rented for immortals to cultivate, but the buildings here belonged to the immortal court. If they wanted to buy it, they had to pay the immortal court. Of course, the immortal court could not be the overlord. The income from the properties of the ownerless land had to be used to build the defensive barrier around the city. The immortal court was not allowed to take any benefits. If not, it would cause the immortals to be dissatisfied. Hey, hold up, hold up! Just then, Su Yun, who was walking aimlessly on the street, suddenly heard a series of shouts from the side. He turned his head to look, only to see a big dog covered in gray fur looking at him. The big dog laid a piece of cloth on the side of the road, and on the cloth there were a few exquisite immortal treasures, as if it was a loose immortal who sold some immortal treasures that he could not use. Dear guest, come over quickly, come over and take a look, there is something you want here." The big dog opened its mouth again, but it did not let out a woof-woof sound. Instead, it spoke in a rough human language. Su Yun was startled. He stared at the big dog. "You are talking to me? Of course, for a handsome and outstanding person like you, everyone will pay attention to you." The big dog put its two paws together, stuck out its tongue, and laughed. Su Yun stared at its funny dog face. After a moment of silence, he asked, "Are you from the spirit demon realm?" "I am not." The big dog was a little angry, but it quickly changed into a smile, even though in Su Yun's eyes it was not a smile. He then heard it continue, "I am just an ordinary spirit dog from the immortal world." "Oh, then why did you call me? I saw that your forehead was shining, and there was light coming out from your head. As you walked, there seemed to be dragons coiling around your body, so I guessed that your esteemed guest would definitely be a peak supreme expert in the future. Esteemed guest, I have a few treasures here that are suitable for you, why don't you take a look? With that, the big dog took out a sparkling and translucent diamond-like stone from somewhere, placed it on the dog's paw, and presented it to Su Yun. What is this? Su Yun stared at the stone, but could not feel the slightest bit of energy inside, and immediately asked. This is an incredible thing. I wonder if you have heard of the story of Nuwa mending the heavens? Nuwa mending the heavens? I've heard of it, but isn't that a story made up by the mortal realm? What kind of story is that? It's true. The big dog's mouth that was full of yellow teeth started to spit out saliva. Legend has it that the water god Gong Gong and the fire god Zhu Rong had a shocking battle, and even the sky was broken. In order to save the myriad realms, the girl used the 5-colored divine stone to mend the heavens, but the sky was mended, but there was a piece of 5-colored divine stone left behind. Hee, that's right, it's this one. Aren't you lying to me? I already said it's a 5-colored divine stone. Your stone has no color. How can it be a 5-colored divine stone? Without waiting for Su Yun to speak, Faceless could not help but speak up. AI, what you said is wrong. The big dog was unhappy and immediately raised the stone high into the sky. A ray of light shone down and struck the stone, causing it to immediately glow. Do you see that? It's so colorful, so beautiful. Then, isn't this a 7-colored divine stone? 7-colored divine stone, the other 2 are for you. I won't charge any additional fees. The big dog did not know how to explain, so it could only casually answer. Do you think we're all idiots? Seeing that, Su Yun shook his head and turned to leave. If he could not tell that the big dog was fooling him, then Su Yun would have lived all these years in vain. AI, guest, don't go. I still have other treasures here. Don't you want to take a look? AI, guest, don't go. Don't go. Seeing that Su Yun was about to leave, the big dog became anxious. With 4 legs on the ground, it ran in front of Su Yun and stopped him. If you continue to use those broken stones to scare people, then we have nothing to talk about, Su Yun said indifferently. The big dog laughed awkwardly, obviously understanding that its little trick had been seen through, but its skin seemed to be thicker than Su Yun's, and said, Guest, since you don't want the stone, how about the weapon? I have an immortal sword with spiritual intelligence here. It was forged by the ancient supreme expert, it's definitely powerful, how about it? Are you interested? An immortal sword with spiritual intelligence? Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. Could it be a spirit sword? Chapter 1180. Oh? Immortal sword? I just so happen to lack a suitable weapon. If you take out a good one, we can make a deal. Su Yun raised his eyebrows and said indifferently. Hearing that, the big dog immediately became spirited, and immediately pulled Su Yun back to its stall. While flattering Su Yun, it took out a green sword with a scabbard from its space bag that seemed to be hanging on its abdomen. The sword seemed to be wrapped in a layer of green oil. Although there was no light leaking out, it was extremely eye-catching. The surface of the sword scabbard seemed to be covered by an eagle pattern. The eagle spread its wings, and the wings extended from the middle of the sword scabbard to the tail, and the sword hilt was also very interesting. It was wrapped in 2 eagle claws, looking extremely sinister. The big dog somewhat clumsily pulled out the sword, and with a clanging sound, a green light flashed, and a bright green immortal sword appeared in front of Su Yun. Su Yun stared at the sword, quietly looking at it. Although compared to the other immortal swords, the appearance of the sword was not considered outstanding, but the moment the sword left the sword scabbard, Su Yun vaguely caught a trace of a strange spirit. This seemed to be an immortal sword with a spirit. How is it? Dear customer, this sword is not bad, right? Seeing that Su Yun was lost in thought, the big dog immediately said. It's just SOSO. Su Yun said indifferently. Still SOSO? The big dog opened its eyes wide and hurriedly said, "It is said that this is the sword used by the poison god. After he died, the power of his soul was inadvertently absorbed by this sword. This is a peerless sword. I can't see what's so good about it. Dear customer, your eyesight still needs to be honed." "Is that so?" "TSK, TSK, TSK, stinking dog, are you swindling people here again? Are you relying on the fact that you are the dog of the Lord of Immortal Virtue, that you can be lawless and swindle people?" At this moment, a slightly mocking voice came from the side. Su-yun looked over, only to see a young man with a buzz cut walking over with a bamboo stick in his hand and a blade of grass in his mouth. When the big dog heard the man's words, it immediately barked twice in anger and said angrily, "You bamboo stick, what nonsense are you spouting? What swindling? When have I ever swindled people? Still denying it?" The man snorted. "The last time you sold me the 9 Revolutions pill furnace, you said it was some high-grade pill furnace for refining pills, and it could forcefully increase the grade of pills refined. In the end, I refined 3 pots of pills, and all of them were wasted. Not a single one of them succeeded. At first, I thought it was because my alchemy technique was wrong, but I failed every time. And you still say it's not your furnace's problem? You can't take a shit and blame it on the toilet. That pill furnace is a good thing, it's just that you don't know how to use it. Then why don't you use that pill furnace to refine a pot of pills for me to see? I've also brought the pill furnace, you can refine it here for me. This. I don't know how to concoct pills." The large dog was starting to panic. "Lord Immortal Virtue is best at concocting pills. You've served him for so many years, yet you still say you don't know how to concoct pills? Are you treating me like a 3-year-old? The man sneered again and again, then holding on to the bamboo rod, he walked a few steps forward, pointed at the big dog and said, "Even if you want to beat a dog, you have to look at its owner. I won't casually touch you. When Lord Immortal Virtue comes, I will seek justice from him." Hearing that, the big dog immediately panicked and immediately knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. "Great Immortal Zhu! Great Immortal Zhu! Don't. If you say these things to Master, won't Master stew me? I beg of you, I'll return all the money to you. Don't tell Master, what do you think?" Hearing that, the buzz-cut man's face became much better. He nodded his head in satisfaction. "If that's the case, then that's more like it." The big dog did not dare to speak any nonsense. It immediately took out a bag of celestial coins and handed it over to the buzz-cut man while trembling. The buzz-cut man took the celestial coins and counted them. He snorted and laughed, then said to Su-yun, "Fellow immortal, be careful of this cunning dog." With that, he left. Su-yun looked at the man for a long time, then turned his head to look at the big dog. The big dog stuck out its tongue, gasping for air while laughing awkwardly. "That person wronged me. How much is this sword?" Su-yun asked directly. 20,000 celestial coins. "All right." Su-yun nodded to Faceless, who immediately took out 20,000 celestial coins and handed it over to the big dog. In terms of celestial coins, Su-yun had a lot of them. Forget about him, even the people around him were extremely rich. After all, they controlled more than half of the ultimate martial world's resources, and there were even a few immortal sects. To ordinary immortals, this amount of money was not a small amount, but to Su-yun it was not a big problem. Hearing that, the big dog almost fainted from happiness. It could not believe that Su-yun would agree so readily, and thought that the other party would lower the price. 20,000 celestial coins. This sword was not even worth 2,000 celestial coins. If it had known that Su-yun would agree so readily, it would have raised the price. The big dog felt a little regretful, but having 20,000 celestial coins was not bad. But just as Su-yun took the sword, he said to Faceless again, "Immediately contact the Lord of Immortal Virtue, tell him that his dog has just deceived us, and want him to give us an explanation." If he doesn't give it, we will immediately go to the immortal court to complain. Yes, Faceless said. With that said, the big dog was so scared that its 4 dog paws went limp. It laid on the ground with its eyes wide open. Although this sword has spirituality, it does not contain much energy, and I can vaguely tell from this energy that it has nothing to do with immortal chi, which means that it is not a sword forged by an immortal, so it is not an immortal sword. There are no seals on the sword, the entire sword is not embedded with gems, and it is not made of any rare materials. You want to sell this sword to me for 20,000 celestial coins? If I report this to the immortal court, I am afraid that even your master, the Lord of Immortal Virtue, will not be able to do anything to me, right? Su Yun said with a serious face. The big dog was so scared that its tongue almost fell to the ground. Su Yun turned his head, stared at the big dog, and said with a serious face. For you. This sword is for you. The big dog hurriedly shouted. This time, it did not dare to bargain. It hurriedly returned the 20,000 celestial coins. How could it dare to put it in the space bag? Faceless took the celestial coins, kept them, and retreated to the side. Su Yun glanced at the big dog, did not say anything, and immediately turned to leave. Seeing that, the big dog sighed again and again. I was thinking of doing some small business while Master is not here, but I didn't expect to meet these 2 fiends. Sigh, what bad luck. It had a dejected look on its face, but soon, its eyes began to look at the immortals around it, and it muttered, Let's see if there are any unfamiliar faces. Can I coax them a little? If I can earn some money, I can use it to cultivate. However, before it could start thinking about the others, Su Yun, who had left earlier, suddenly returned. Masters, I've returned the money to you, and I've given you the treasure. What else do you want? When the big dog saw Su Yun, it immediately said with a sullen face, Let me ask you something. If you answer to my satisfaction, we can pay you 500 celestial coins. Su Yun said indifferently. 500? Really? The big dog's eyes immediately shone with a golden light. There are too many people here. Let's go somewhere else. All right, I know of an immortal tavern not far away. The wine inside is fragrant and delicious. Why don't we go there and talk? The big dog said with some anticipation. Hearing that, a look of anticipation flashed past Faceless' eyes, and he immediately looked at Su Yun. He loved to drink, and Su Yun knew that, so he immediately agreed. The 2 of them headed towards the tavern at the end of the street. It didn't seem like it was the first time the big dog had been here. As soon as it entered the tavern, it barked twice and shouted, Waiter, hurry up and arrange a private room for your grandpa, and prepare 2 jars of immortal don't get drunk. Hurry! Isn't this the dog immortal? What? Did you catch another fish? An immortal sitting at the side saw the big dog, and immediately teased with a smile. What fishing? These 2 are my esteemed guests, all of you better keep your mouths clean. The big dog was a little angry, it scolded the few people, and then said to Su Yun, Masters, quickly, this way please. Seeing that, Su Yun understood that the big dog must have been hanging out in Wentai City often, if not there wouldn't be so many immortals who recognized it. Of course, its reputation might be a little bad. Su Yun had originally planned to continue strolling around Wentai City, but thinking that he was not familiar with the people and places in Wentai City, there was no point in him wandering around blindly, so he decided to find the dog to understand him. Its intelligence was not high, so Su Yun was not worried about exposing his identity. The 2 of them sat down, and the big dog actually sat down as well. However, its buttocks were relatively high, and it looked like it would fall at any time. However, the big dog did not care about that. When the wine was served, it immediately extended its dog paw, activated the immortal chi, wrapped around the wine cup, and poured it into its mouth. From the looks of it, it seemed like it wanted to swallow the entire cup. After drinking 2 cups, it finally stopped, with a happy look on its face. Su Yun also tasted a cup, and when the wine entered his throat, his eyes could not help but light up. The wine was good wine. It had to be said that the wine of the immortal realm was indeed intoxicating. Seeing that Su Yun had taken a sip, Faceless also dared to drink it. However, Su Yun did not come here to drink. When the big dog was about to drink the third cup of wine, Su Yun activated his immortal chi and sealed the mouth of the cup. The big dog was startled, and looked at Su Yun in confusion. "You've already drunk the wine. If you still want to earn those immortal coins, shouldn't you talk about something that I'm interested in?" Su Yun said indifferently. "What does Master want to know?" The big dog quickly asked. "Oh, it's nothing much. I just want to know if anything important has happened in Wentai City recently." Su Yun said indifferently. "Yes." The big dog immediately nodded and replied, "Anyone who is permanently stationed in Wentai City knows about this. Master, you are a new face, an outsider, you definitely don't know about it, right?" Su Yun nodded, his expression slightly tense. "What exactly is it?" Chapter 1181. Some time ago, someone was beaten to death here. The big dog stretched its head over and said in a low voice, "It seems like 9 days ago, in the center of Wentai City, 2 groups of immortals started fighting for some reason. The scene was very tragic. It is said that many immortals died. The center of Wentai City was also badly damaged. It has not been repaired yet. As far as I know, although Wentai City is restricted by the Immortal Court, the Immortal Court did not strictly guard this place. There are often immortals fighting here. What you said should not be anything strange, right?" Su Yun frowned. "Fighting? A battle of magical powers is a battle of magical powers, but like you said, it's just a battle of magical powers, and no one has died before. But this time, the casualties are extremely heavy, and it has seriously affected the order of Wentai City. What's more?" The big dog suddenly lowered its voice and whispered, "What's more, the people who died this time may be important people." "Important people? Do you know what important people they are?" Su Yun asked. "I don't know." The big dog shook its head. "Someone said it seems to be people from the Immortal Court. But I don't know the details." "People from the Immortal Court?" Zhan Zhuoyang from the Ministry of Revenue came to Wentai City for no reason. Could it be that something happened to the people from the Immortal Court, which led him to come to Wentai City personally? Su Yun fell into deep thought. The big dog drank a mouthful of wine and asked, "Where did the 2 of you come from? What business do you have in Wentai City?" "I am from a small sect. I passed by Wentai City, so I came to take a look." "Hee, then you've come to the right place. Although Wentai City is ungoverned, being ungoverned also has its own benefit. There are still many good things here. Do you want me to take you there to have a look?" The large dog revealed an evil grin. Su Yun did not have time to accompany this dog. He shook his head and rejected. "That is a pity." The big dog continued to drink. After a meal, the big dog left the tavern in satisfaction, while Su Yun and Faceless continued to wander the streets. But Su Yun was deep in thought. As he walked, he did not care about the scenery on both sides of the street. "Master, what should we do now?" "There's no need to rush. Let's wait for the Immortal Court's Minister of Revenue, Zhan Zhuoyang, to arrive first." Su Yun said indifferently, "If we don't know the purpose of the Immortal Lyceum, we can't carry out the next step of our strategy. Xiaochua's information is limited, we can only rely on ourselves for the rest." "Yes, my lord." Faceless nodded. Su Yun led him to the construction area at the edge of Wentai City. After paying 100 Celeste, he rented a training room and waited quietly inside. Su Yun now had the cultivation of the spirit god realm, and with the power of the 10,000 beast stone, it was not difficult to deal with a stage 4 envoy, so he did not need to make any preparations. 2 days passed quickly, and on the 3rd day, Su Yun received news that Zhan Zhuiyang had arrived at Wentai City. The arrival of the emissaries of the Immortal Court made Wentai City look rather grand. Moreover, there were more than 100 of them. Except for Zhan Zhuiyang, the rest of them were wearing battle armors and holding sabers, as if they were protecting Zhan Zhuiyang. The Immortal Lyceum stationed in Wentai City immediately came out to welcome them. The people at the gate of Wentai City actually separated to two sides, allowing the Immortal Lyceum to enter and exit. It showed how powerful the Immortal Lyceum was. Faceless and Su Yun were already waiting at the gate. Zhan Zhuiyang was wearing a brown robe with white dots on it. Upon closer inspection, one could see that these dots were standing opposite each other, like a dot matrix. He looked like a middle-aged man with a solemn expression. His hands were clasped behind his back, giving him a strong aura. Those armored people of the Immortal Court were walking on his left and right, giving him the image of a superior. The Immortal Lyceum's Ministry of Revenue was in charge of the distribution of jobs in the Immortal Lyceum. Although he was just a Stage 4 envoy, he had a lot of power. Is this the Lord of the Immortal Lyceum? He's so powerful, I can't see through him. TSK, what cultivation do you have? Can you see through the cultivation of the Lord of the Immortal Lyceum? Don't overestimate yourself. As if you're very powerful. Sai, stop arguing. It's useless to talk about this. If you have the heart, why don't you spend more time cultivating? Let's stop talking. He's from the Immortal Lyceum, we can't even compare to him. If we could enter the Immortal Lyceum and obtain the fortune of the Immortal Lyceum, I wouldn't be like this. But it's not easy to enter the Immortal Lyceum. I heard that not only do they have to go through the test, they also have to have connections. Yes, we don't have such luck. The people on both sides were pointing at the Immortal Lyceum's people. Some were talking about Zhan Zhuiyang, but most of them were talking about the Immortal Lyceum. Su Yun stood in the crowd and listened carefully. He realized that many of them were not familiar with Zhan Zhuiyang. Zhan Zhuiyang looked ahead and ignored the people on both sides. His expression was ugly. Su Yun felt weird and followed him into the city secretly. The captain of the Immortal Lyceum's garrison in Wentai City came over and greeted him. Greetings, Lord Zhan. Bring me there. Zhan Zhuiyang said indifferently. Yes. The captain immediately turned around and walked into the city. The group of Immortal Lyceum's people headed towards the center. The rogue immortals on the side also followed them, as if they were watching a show. Su Yun and Faceless were in the crowd. The number of immortals in the center of Wentai City gradually decreased. The buildings here also became dilapidated. There were many defensive enchantments set up inside the city, but all that could be seen was the wreckage. The buildings in the center were not operated by immortals either. It was a stark contrast to the bustling scene outside. The war back then should have been quite intense. Su Yun looked left and right as he thought. As they continued to walk forward, a huge pit appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The air was still faintly rippling with a terrifying destructive aura that was difficult to disperse. Su Yun looked at the huge pit and frowned. When Zhan Zhuiyang and the others saw it, their expressions became even uglier. The Immortal Lyceum's people stood beside the pit while Zhan Zhuiyang entered the pit alone. He paced around the pit for a while. After a long time, he shouted, "Did my son die here?" His voice was a little hoarse. The captain beside the pit hesitated for a moment, then cupped his fists and bowed. "Sir, the young master passed away here." When Zhan Zhuiyang heard this, he immediately clenched his fists. Many people beside him heard this and came to a realization. It seemed that Zhan Zhuiyang had come here because his son had died in this chaotic battle. No wonder the Minister of Revenue, who never left the Immortal Lyceum, would personally come to Wentai City today. "Did you catch the murderer?" "Yes," the captain immediately said. "Where?" "Bring him here," Zhan Zhuiyang shouted. The captain nodded, then turned around and shouted to the people behind him, bring that guy here. Yes. Soon, 2 immortal Lyceum's people dragged an immortal who was wrapped in chains over. The immortal's hair was disheveled, and all his treasures were taken away. He only had a set of clothes to protect his body. His eyes were listless, but when he was brought here, he slowly became angry, as if he remembered something. The people around them were pointing and discussing something. Kneel. The 2 immortal Lyceum shouted. The immortal ignored them, and still stood there, staring fiercely at Jean Zhuang in the pit. Damn it! I told you to kneel, didn't you hear me? The 2 immortal Lyceum's people directly kicked the immortal's knee. The immortal didn't have much immortal chi, and with his injuries, he couldn't withstand the force at all. He staggered, then knelt on the ground. When Jean Zhuang saw this, he put his hands behind his back and walked over with a cold gaze. He walked around the immortal, then said solemnly, "You killed my son? You're that bastard's father?" The immortal with disheveled hair shouted through gritted teeth. "How dare you? How dare you insult sir?" The people of the immortal court at the side immediately raised their hands and slapped the immortal's face twice. The 2 slaps were really ruthless, and the immortal chi had been channeled. When the slaps landed, the immortal spat out a mouthful of blood. The immortal's head turned to the side, and he panted with all his might. He seemed to be a little dizzy. However, Jean Zhuang didn't want to waste too much time on him. "You killed my son, and didn't even leave his soul behind. Do you know what the consequences are? Your son relied on the immortal Lyceum's support to bully others. He took my dual cultivation partner by force and killed her. I killed your son. I destroyed his soul. I only regret that I didn't torture him before I killed him. Ha 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 ha." The immortal laughed loudly. "Bastard!" Jean Zhuang was furious. He slapped the immortal's head and clenched his fingers tightly. Ah! The immortal was tortured by the intense pain coming from his head, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream. A crack appeared on his head, and his brain could even be seen through the crack. It was a wretched sight. The surrounding immortals watched in silence. No one said anything to stop him, and no one dared to. Large amounts of blood flowed out of the immortal's head, and he was on the verge of death. However, Jean Zhuang clearly didn't want to let him die so easily. He loosened his grip and said calmly, "My son is dead and can't be revived. However, don't think that's it. I will drag everyone around you down with my son." The immortal, who was tortured to the brink of death, suddenly raised his head and stared at Jean Zhuang in shock. "What are you going to do?" "What am I going to do? Just wait and see." Jean Zhuang's eyes were filled with killing intent, and his expression was extremely cold. He waved his hand and yelled, "Bring everyone related to this person here." "Yes." The immortal Lyceum's people nodded and immediately ran off. The immortal panicked and roared madly, "Stop! I'll take responsibility for my own actions, and don't touch my family." However, his words were completely ineffective. Chapter 1182. Su Yun did not expect that this guy was actually an immortal that was stationed in Wentai City. Not long after the immortal Lyceum people left, they brought men and women over. These men and women all revealed a look of fear. They did not expect that they would encounter such a calamity. Many of them did not even know that there would be such a calamity. In less than an incense worth of time, the immortal Lyceum people actually brought over 100 immortals, many of whom Su Yun had seen before. They were only friends with this man with disheveled hair, but because of Jean Zhuang's words, they were brought over as well. "Lord? Lord Jean. Why me? I'm not guilty," a man shouted at Jean Zhuang. His eyes were wide open and he was obviously terrified. "That's right, I did not participate in this riot. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not guilty. Let me go. Let me go. What did I do?" Even the immortal Lyceum people can't be so lawless. Hurry up and untie me. Shouts sounded continuously. The people seemed to be in a mess, shouting nonstop. However, the Immortal Lyceum people did not care. All of them just looked at Zhan Zhuiyang. Zhan Zhuiyang looked at these people expressionlessly. He did not immediately explain, and waited for the people who were brought over to be quiet. Then he opened his mouth indifferently. Captain, your subordinate is here. The captain of the Immortal Lyceum team, who was stationed in Wentai City, immediately responded. Are these people related to this bastard? Zhan Zhuiyang pointed at the man and said solemnly. Yes, this person has been living in Wentai City for a long time and has quite a bit of power. However, most of his clan members are in Southern Peak City, and there are very few clan members in the city. Immediately send people to Southern Peak City to capture them. Remember, do not let go of anyone who is related to him, bring them all. Zhan Zhuiyang continued, still expressionless. Yes. Also, kill everyone here. At this moment, he said something that all the immortals present could not believe. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. The uproar continued. Kill them all? Was Zhan Zhuiyang crazy? There were, at least 100 lives here, and they didn't do anything wrong. They just had a little relationship with this person. Could it be that they would also be implicated? You? Are you crazy? Are you from the Immortal Court? You're a madman! The man with disheveled hair roared at the top of his lungs. The rest of the people were even more furious. You want to kill us? Could the people of the Immortal Court do whatever they wanted? What gives you the right to kill us? Do you know the consequences of this? This Immortal Court envoy is crazy. He's crazy. Let me go, don't kill me, I'm innocent, help. Along with Zhan Zhuiyang's order, the scene seemed to be in an uproar, and the entire center of Wentai City was like a hornet's nest that buzzed. Who would have thought that Zhan Zhuiyang would be so extreme? This is simply lawless. At this moment, a brawny man suddenly pushed aside the Immortal Court envoy who was holding him, and stood up and said angrily, Zhan Zhuiyang, I know you're sad that your son died, but we're innocent. What right do you have to punish us? We didn't participate in the fight between your son and Luha. You're the envoy of the Immortal Court, and you represent the law of the Immortal Court. Does the law of the Immortal Court allow you to arrest people for no reason? To kill people? You don't deserve to be a member of the Immortal Court. You don't deserve to represent the law of the immortal world. The brawny man's roar silenced the surroundings, but his words soon attracted the response of the immortals. That's right. You don't deserve to be a member of the Immortal Court. You don't know right from wrong. We didn't do anything, why should we be punished? We don't accept this. The crowd cursed. Zhan Zhuiyang's expression didn't change. He slowly turned around and looked at the brawny man. His expression was extremely calm, unbelievably calm. The brawny man was stunned, and didn't dare to look him in the eye. At this moment, Zhan Zhuiyang spoke. You don't accept this? You're innocent? Fine. Let me tell you, where did you go wrong? Do you know that my son is also a member of the Immortal Court, and he represents the law of the Immortal Court? My son fought with this person, and this person challenged the law of the Immortal Court. As members of the immortal world, you enjoy the protection of the Immortal Court, but you didn't uphold the law in time. This is against the law. If you had saved my son in the first place, would this have happened? Therefore, you're guilty. You're blaming us for not saving your son back then? The brawny man couldn't believe such a ridiculous reason. That's right. Zhan Zhuiyang snorted, then suddenly raised his hand and reached out towards the brawny man. Before the brawny man could react, his body suddenly glowed with gray light. Zhan Zhuiyang had forcibly extracted his soul, and it flew straight into his palm. Under the vast sky, the crowd could see the brawny man's soul struggling madly in Zhan Zhuiyang's palm. But no matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape Zhan Zhuiyang's palm. Everyone tensed up. They stared at Zhan Zhuiyang with wide eyes. Besides, you're just a bunch of ants in my eyes. Since my son is dead, why can't I kill a bunch of ants to vent my anger? With that, Zhan Zhuiyang clenched his fist. Crack, the brawny man's soul was crushed, turning into fragments and vanishing. This extremely cruel method was simply shocking to the eyes. In an instant, the entire center of Wentai City was in an uproar. The surrounding immortals were petrified, staring blankly at the scene. As for the immortals who were captured, they were wailing madly. Zhan Zhuiyang was serious this time. He was indeed going to kill them all. Standing beside them was a member of the immortal court with great cultivation. It was impossible for them to escape, and resisting was suicide. Beast! Beast! Let them go! They're innocent. You want to torture me? Kill me! Come at me directly! Let these innocent people go! The man with disheveled hair didn't expect Zhan Zhuiyang to do such a thing. His eyes were bloodshot and he shouted hoarsely. Innocent? Zhan Zhuiyang looked at him coldly. As long as it's related to you, none of them are innocent. They all deserve to die. Ah! The man couldn't bear such a thing. He stood up and charged towards Zhan Zhuiyang. However, before he could take a few steps, one of the people of the immortal court beside him kicked him, breaking his kneecap. He fell to the ground, looking extremely miserable. The scene was too horrible to look at. Wails and sobs could be heard everywhere. Su Yun, who was at the side, didn't expect there to be such a reckless person in the immortal court. It seems like Zhan Zhuiyang brought people here on purpose. His goal is to avenge his son. Faceless stared at that place and said indifferently, It's both for revenge and for venting. Zhan Zhuiyang is too much. But with his level of cultivation and strength, all of this seems very normal from his point of view. Isn't he afraid of being punished by the immortal court? If there's punishment, it's fine. I'm thinking that even if the immortal court finds out about this, they probably won't even punish him. Su Yun shook his head. Faceless was silent. Woof woof woof. Woof woof woof. Master! At this moment a familiar barking came from the side. The two of them looked over and saw the big dog that was drinking with them in the tavern suddenly rushing out of the crowd and running towards the center. Master, it's that dog, Faceless hurriedly said. The big dog ran to the side of a man wearing a purple robe and holding a long sword, then lay down beside him and didn't move at all. That purple-robed man should be its master, Lord Immortal Virtue, right? Although the big dog's intelligence was low, it was still able to distinguish some things. It also understood what the current situation was. If it stayed to the side, it would definitely be safe, and it would be able to escape this calamity. However, it did not do so. Instead, in this moment of danger, it still accompanied its master. Sometimes, dogs are becoming more and more like humans, but humans are not even as good as dogs. Su Yun stared at the big dog and muttered. Faceless was silent. Among the 100 or so people, there were already people exchanging glances. Although they were not a match for the immortal court, they had no other way out. If they didn't fight at this time, only death awaited them. Master, when do we make our move? Faceless asked. Immediately. Su Yun looked at the purple-robed man beside the big dog, and said in a low voice, Wait for them to make the first move, then we will take advantage of the chaos to attack. Our target is Zhan Zhuiyang, ignore the others. They will make a move? They are already at death's door. If they don't make a move, aren't they just sitting there waiting for death? Faceless nodded and secretly gathered his immortal chi. At this time, Zhan Zhuiyang waved his hand. The immortal court people escorted the men and women into the big pit, and Zhan Zhuiyang also walked into the big pit. He didn't look at these people, but looked around the big pit. Suddenly, he raised his head, his eyes were filled with tears, and he actually started crying. It seemed that the death of his son was a huge blow to him. But this wasn't a reason for him to kill innocent people. Zhan Zhuiyang cried for a while, then wiped his tears, turned around and nodded at the captain, and said with a hoarse voice, "Get rid of them, then fill up this pit." "Yes," the captain replied, then waved his hand. All the immortal court people immediately raised their blades and gathered their immortal qi. Voila! Waves of killing intent spiraled in the air. The surrounding immortals all opened their eyes wide. "Let's go." Su Yun patted Faceless' shoulder, then directly walked towards the big pit. And just as he took the first step, a strange light suddenly appeared in the big pit. Chapter 1183. Zhan Zhuiyang. You're too lawless. We clearly did not do anything wrong, but you still want to force your son's death on us. We are clearly just a group of innocent people, but you want to put your hatred on us? If everyone in the immortal court is like you, I would rather rebel against the immortal court. A roar rang out. The purple-robed immortal virtue monarch pulled out his sword and pointed it at Zhan Zhuiyang. He was like a rainbow that pierced through the sky. Once his sword was unsheathed, it shocked the world. With the immortal virtue monarch taking the lead, how could the rest just watch? He immediately leaped up and attacked the immortal court people beside him. The entire crater was instantly in chaos. "How dare you? How dare you defy the laws of the immortal court, defy the punishment of the immortal court? Kill! Kill them all!" The captain of the immortal court was enraged. He raised his blade and shouted. All the immortal court people were no longer restrained. They used their immortal qi to slash at the people beside them. For a moment, sword qi flew everywhere and immortal qi overflowed. However, Zhan Zhuiyang had obviously underestimated these people who had been in Wentai City for a long time. When these immortals who were about to be executed rose up to resist, a large number of immortals rushed out from the crowd and attacked the immortal court people. "Immortal court people, don't be too arrogant!" People roared. As long as they still had a righteous heart, they would not allow the immortal court to act so recklessly. Among these people, most of them were related to those who were captured. People were like this. They were inextricably linked and could not be severed. Su Yun had already expected this kind of chaotic battle. The center of Wentai City was like a pot of porridge. However, it was obviously impossible to deal with Zhan Zhuiyang with just these immortals. Zhan Zhuiyang's arrogance was not because he was a fourth-rank envoy of the immortal court. His arrogance came from his own strength. In his eyes, these people were indeed like a group of ants. Su Yun and Faceless changed their appearances and directly walked towards Zhan Zhuiyang in the center. At this moment, Zhan Zhuiyang's hands were still behind his back. He coldly stared at the attacking Immortal Virtue Lord with a bit of disdain on his face. The Lord of Immortal Virtue was good at alchemy, but he wasn't very good at attacking. The sharp sword was stabbed left and right by him, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't stab Zhan Zhuiyang in front of him. Even though the immortal energy on the sword was very dense and could shake the void, Zhan Zhuiyang was clearly standing in front of him as if he was motionless, but when the sword stabbed forward, it could only rub against the air. "Woof woof!" The big dog rushed over. Its body turned yellow and expanded, turning into a heavenly dog that was more than 10 meters tall. Its muscles were swollen, its claws were sharp, and its fangs were exposed. Its face was ferocious, and its eyes flickered with a cold light as it stared at Zhan Zhuiyang. Its aura instantly soared. It raised its claws and slapped at Zhan Zhuiyang. But before the claw could get close to Zhan Zhuiyang, the void suddenly trembled. Then, a stream of light shot out and instantly pierced through the dog's sharp claw. Whoosh! The dog's claw instantly shattered into pieces. Its body tilted and instantly returned to its original state. It fell to the ground and curled up in pain. Damn it! The Lord of Immortal Virtue gritted his teeth and was annoyed at himself for being incompetent. The sharp sword was like an embroidery needle in the opponent's eyes. It posed no threat at all. Zhan Zhuiyang seemed to be a bit impatient. He stared at the Lord of Immortal Virtue in front of him and expressionlessly said, "Do you like to die in this kind of situation?" "Less nonsense. I, the Lord of Immortal Virtue, never interfere with the matters of the Immortal Court, but I didn't expect this to become my fault. Since you want to kill me, I won't sit still and wait for death. Zhan Zhuiyang, although I'm not your match, I won't be afraid of you." The Lord of Immortal Virtue gritted his teeth and threw out several strands of immortal energy, but they all hit empty air. The center of Wentai City was crushed by the fighting immortals. Even the surroundings of the city were affected. The people in the city hurriedly ran outside, afraid of being implicated. Zhan Zhuiyang coldly snorted, and the disdain in his eyes became even stronger. "Not afraid? Good. In that case, I'll make you afraid." With that, he was about to attack. The moment the Lord of Immortal Virtue heard this, his expression tightened. He became nervous and didn't know if he could block Zhan Zhuiyang's attack. But, just as Zhan Zhuiyang was about to attack, a hand suddenly reached out from behind him and pressed down on his shoulder. "Immortal Courts, Zhan Zhuiyang?" A voice came from behind him without warning. Zhan Zhuiyang's heart went cold, and he quickly turned around. "Who?" "I said who I am, but you don't know me." That voice came again. Zhan Zhuiyang looked over and saw a man wearing a black cloak and a man wearing a mask standing behind him. Before he could react, his arm was cut off. Poochie! Blood rushed into the sky. Zhan Zhuiyang was startled, and then he felt waves of pain coming from his arm. He took 2 steps back and stared at the 2 people with wide eyes. He almost didn't dare to believe everything. Naturally, he knew best what level of cultivation he had. He also knew what kind of magical treasures he had on him. But his entire body of defense, to this person, it was practically non-existent, because he had so easily cut off his arm. What was even more frightening was, when did he appear behind him? Zhan Zhuiyang also didn't know. These 2 fellows, just who were they? Zhan Zhuiyang clenched his teeth. The Lord of Immortal Virtue and the others behind him were also stunned. They didn't even have time to react. Zhan Zhuiyang, who was originally calm and composed and disdainful of these people, had lost an arm. The big dog lying on the ground opened its eyes and looked at the 2 people. It tried its best to sniff twice and was suddenly stunned. "Lord Zhan, come with us." Su Yun threw away the arm in his hand and said indifferently, "Who are you people? Didn't I say it already? Even if I say who I am, you don't know. Since that's the case, why say it? Do you know who I am? I even called you Lord Zhan. How could I not know who you are? Since that's the case, you still dare to provoke the people of the Immortal Court. It seems like I won't be able to invite you." Su Yun walked straight towards Zhan Zhuiyang. His steps were slow, but every step he took was filled with extreme boldness. "Stop him!" Zhan Zhuiyang took a few steps back and shouted in a low voice. When the people from the Immortal Court saw the sudden situation, they immediately rushed over. But just as they got close, their bodies were sent flying. Faceless immediately stood guard by Su Yun's side. Any person from the Immortal Court who approached would be sent flying by his fist. As a former Golden Armor Force Saint, his brute force was so terrifying that even Su Yun was fearful of it. Seeing that the people from the Immortal Court were no match for the masked man, Zhan Zhuiyang understood that the 2 of them had extremely terrifying cultivations. His mind spun rapidly, thinking of a way out, but Su Yun did not give him any time to think. Su Yun's body suddenly moved, as though he had teleported. He landed beside Zhan Zhuiyang, and with one hand, he pressed down on his other shoulder. Zhan Zhuiyang's nerves twitched. Just as he thought that his other arm was about to be destroyed, he was shocked to find that the man in the black cloak did not remove his arm. But at this moment, the immortal chi in his body was flowing out crazily, directly into the man's palm through his shoulder. When he realized this, Zhan Zhuiyang's heart turned cold. The immortal chi was sucked away? Didn't that mean that he had lost his ability to resist? Let's go, Su Yun said indifferently. He directly grabbed Zhan Zhuiyang's body, leaped, and suddenly disappeared from Wentai City. Seeing this, Faceless, who had sent a few people from the immortal court flying, took a few steps back, and followed them, disappearing into thin air. Master has been taken away. Quickly chase after him. The people from the immortal court shouted anxiously. But they could not even find the shadow of the other party. How could they chase after him? The scene was extremely chaotic. Many people did not know how Su Yun and Faceless came here, and many people did not even notice that Zhan Zhuiyang had been taken away. When he was taken away by Su Yun, the chaotic scene gradually calmed down, but there was more fear, astonishment, confusion, and uneasiness. A portion of the people from the immortal court went in search of the person who took Zhan Zhuiyang away, while the rest stayed here to investigate. No one expected that someone would suddenly appear and take Zhan Zhuiyang away. This was a rank 4 immortal court envoy. This was undoubtedly a declaration of war against the immortal court. Immediately seal off Wentai City. No one is allowed to enter or leave Wentai City, quickly. The captain was anxious and immediately shouted. The rest of the people from the immortal court did not dare to delay, and quickly did as he said. The surrounding immortals were still confused. Lord Immortal Virtue kept his sharp sword, and stared at the sky, still in a daze. I did not expect those two to be such powerful existences. At this moment, the big dog at the side suddenly sighed. Lord Immortal Virtue was startled and quickly asked, "You know the two people who took Zhan Zhuiyang away?" "I don't, but I sold them some useless trash, and they treated me to a drink." "Useless trash?" Lord Immortal Virtue was startled, and suddenly opened his eyes wide, and looked at the big dog and asked, "What is it?" This, hurry up and tell me the truth." That ancient spirit sword. You actually sold the ancient spirit sword? Didn't Master say that the sword was sealed, and no longer had any use? The big dog covered its wound and pretended to be pitiful. Lord Immortal Virtue was very angry, but since things had come to this, he could not say anything and could only sigh. It was obvious that this big dog often made him angry, but he was already used to it. "How much did you sell it for?" 200 celestial coins. The big dog did not dare to say it was free, and could only add in the information fee. Only 200, you stupid dog. Master, those two people, who are they?" "I'm not sure, but no matter who they are, I know that they are definitely existences that can contend against the immortal court." Chapter 1184. In a quiet pavilion, Faceless stood in front of the door. Inside the room, there was only Su Yun and Zhan Zhuiyang, who was thrown to the ground. This was the 8 Harmonies sect, the closest force to Wentai City, Su Yun. When Su Yun rushed here, only Kai Tian knew, the rest of the people in the 8 Harmonies sect did not know. Of course, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. The room was especially dark. The windows were tightly shut and the formation was closed. There was no light at all. Although the vision of immortals at this level would not be affected by darkness, the uneasiness that darkness gave people was something that even immortals could not avoid. "You! Who the hell are you?" Zhan Zhuiyang raised his dim eyes, looked at Su Yun and muttered. However, Su Yun did not have the slightest intention of answering his question, but directly walked in front of him, pressed down on his head, and activated the great exquisite technique. This is the great nimble art? You are from the great exquisite palace? Zhan Zhuiyang was stunned. He wanted to resist, but the current him could not resist Su Yun at all. The flickering light in Su Yun's eyes directly shot into his eyes, peering into his state of mind, and seeing through his soul. Zhan Zhuiyang's body trembled violently. He seemed to want to self-destruct to protect his secret, but his immortal chi had already been completely absorbed by the imperial battle robe on Su Yun's body. Even if he wanted to commit suicide, He was powerless, and the current him could not do anything. Just like that, after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Su Yun finally recovered. Zhan Zuiyang's face was ashen. He looked at Su Yun in fear. Su Yun's face was ice-cold. He directly took out the spirit sword that he bought from the big dog, and without saying a word, he pierced towards Zhan Zuiyang's heart. Pff! Zhan Zuiyang's body trembled. Following that, his body was directly torn apart by the immortal qi released from the sword edge. His body exploded. His soul flew out, but before it could escape, it was directly destroyed by Su Yun. He had already used the great exquisite technique to find out everything he wanted to know, so it was useless for Zhan Zuiyang to stay. After killing Zhan Zuiyang, Su Yun walked out of the house. Master! Faceless immediately bowed at the door. Let's go back to the immortal seeking sect first. Su Yun said indifferently. Yes. Faceless nodded and left with Su Yun. After leaving the octagonal door, Su Yun specially instructed Kai Tian to make preparations in the near future. He had already decided to take the initiative. Even if he didn't attack the immortal court, he would at least destroy their eyes that were searching for the traces of the true devil world. After unleashing the great exquisite technique on Zhan Zuiyang, Su Yun's face was gloomy. Although Zhan Zuiyang was just a 4th-level envoy, he was the Minister of Revenue. Different from the Ministry of Resources, he was a 4th-level envoy that held true power. Even a 3rd-level mystical envoy would give him some face, and would not dare to do anything to him. Zhan Zuiyang had been in the immortal court for 1,000 years, but he had never been promoted. It wasn't because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. He didn't want to give up the lucrative job of the Ministry of Revenue. However, compared to this information, Su Yun naturally obtained a lot of shocking news. He and Faceless rushed towards the Immortal Seeking Sect in a race against time. Upon entering the Immortal Seeking Sect, he immediately called for Xiang Yang and Su Luluo. Xiang Yang, immediately send someone to the Big Ling Long Palace and inform Elder Wei Ming. Tell him to immediately gather his troops and head towards the northeast side of Flowing Light City. Along the northeast direction, there is an extremely rare water element spirit crystal, and let him quickly occupy it. Yes, Master. Xiang Yang immediately cupped his fist. Although he was extremely curious as to why Su Yun knew that there was a rare spirit mine there, he did not dare to ask too much. Xiang Yang nodded and then retreated. Su Yun turned his head and said to Su Luluo, Luluo, what orders does brother have? Immediately gather 10 experts above the 5th stage of the spirit profound immortal realm and follow me out. Go out? What does brother plan to do? Oh, go and get something, Su Yun said indifferently. Although he said it, Su Luluo did not think it would be that simple. She nodded and left as well. After a while, 10 Devil Cultivator S of the 5th stage of the Spirit Profound Immortal were waiting outside the meeting hall. Right now, most of the Devil Cultivator S in the Immortal Seeking Sect were quietly moving towards the Beiyang, while the people arranged by Huai Romu entered the Immortal Seeking Sect. These people were all trustworthy, but Su Luluo did not withdraw all of the Devil Cultivator S, but left behind a portion of the elites. These Devil Cultivator S received a large amount of immortal coins, pills and magic treasure S. Their cultivation increased extremely quickly, adding that they were all talented geniuses. Their cultivation speed was several times or even more than 10 times faster than ordinary people. It was not strange for him to have such a cultivation level. These 10 Devil Cultivator S were dressed in the robes of the Immortal Seeking Sect. There were both men and women, and because they were disguised, their appearances were not considered outstanding, but when they saw Su Yun dressed in a black cloak, they recognized who he was, and immediately revealed expressions of excitement. Lord Devil Lord! The 10 Devil Cultivator S shouted in unison. Immediately put away all the things on your body that could expose your identity and follow me later, Su Yun said in a low voice. The 10 Devil Cultivators did not dare to be negligent. They immediately kept their immortal-seeking sect robes and changed into ordinary cloaks, covering themselves up, and kept their order badges. "Big brother, where are you planning to go?" Su Luluo became even more curious. "To retrieve something that should have belonged to the Immortal Court," Su Yun said indifferently. "Something from the Immortal Court?" "To be more precise, it is something that the Immortal Court intends to use to deal with the true Devil Realm." The more Su Luluo heard, the more confused he became, but it was useless to ask Su Yun about this now. He would understand sooner or later. Su Yun prepared for a while, then brought Faceless and the 10 Devil Cultivator experts out of the Immortal-seeking sect, and rushed towards the Immortal Court. Time seemed to be a little rushed, to the point that Su Yun had been moving at his fastest speed. They did not know what they were going to do, but since Su Yun did not say, they did not dare to ask. On the way, Su Yun, who had been silent the entire time, finally opened his mouth. "This operation is extremely important to us. You must successfully complete the mission, you must not make any mistakes, and even more so, you cannot leave any traces behind. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable, do you understand?" "Yes." Everyone shouted in unison. Su Yun nodded his head and continued. 2 days later, the Immortal Court will send an escort team to bring the immortal equipment, Eternal Young God Arrow, which the Immortal Court's craftsmen had spent 3,000 years to gather countless manpower and wealth from the Immortal Court, to the entrance of the underworld. Because the people of the underworld are extremely repulsive to the outside world, although I do not know what method the sect master used to enter the underworld, but I know that these people from the Immortal Court are unable to enter the underworld. If they want to open the door to the underworld, they can only rely on forceful methods, and this Eternal Young God Arrow is their trump card. So Master wants us to seize this item to prevent the people of the Immortal Court from attacking the underworld and exterminate the Devil Cultivator. Faceless nodded, as if he had thought it through. Not only to prevent the people of the Immortal Court from attacking the underworld, this item also has other uses. "Where are they now?" "They are taking the route of the Cloud Creek Plains, so we will wait for them there. It will only take a little more than a day to get there, so we have enough time to prepare there." "Lord Demon Lord, how many people are there in the team that is escorting the Eternal Young God Arrow?" At this time, a Devil Lord mustered up his courage and asked. "There are a total of 11,000 people. All of them are experts above the 5th stage of the Spirit Profound Immortal Realm, led by a 1st stage Spirit Profound God," Su Yun said. With that said, the 10 Devil Cultivators were all dumbstruck, and looked at Su Yun with their tongues tied. Faceless was also shocked, he was stunned. "More than 10,000 people! There's even a Spirit Profound God Almighty expert leading the team? There are only 12 of us. Can we really defeat all of them? And we still have to take the Eternal Young God Arrow from their hands, can we do that?" The 10 Devil Cultivators all revealed ugly expressions. Hearing Su Yun's words, their originally confident mentality was completely shattered, and they all started to panic. Seeing that, Su Yun suddenly stopped. Everyone stopped in their tracks and shifted their gazes to look at him. "Are you guys afraid?" Su Yun suddenly said. Everyone was silent. "If you're afraid, then you've already lost. Master, this is not a matter of courage, but the disparity in strength is too great. If we go, we will only be courting death." "Disparity in strength? If we don't give it a try, how can we know the disparity in strength between us and the enemy?" Su Yun said indifferently. "All of you must remember, no matter what, do not be afraid, even if the enemy is countless times stronger than you. In that situation, I will allow you to escape, but I will never allow you to be afraid. Escaping is not equal to failure, but being afraid is a crushing defeat." When everyone heard this, they all lowered their head. Su Yun sighed and continued to move forward. The path that the true devil sect was taking now was just like Su Yun's current plan of action. Whether it was strength or numbers, the other party was stronger than them. However, they were still heading towards the enemy's location. It was not that they did not care about life and death, but that they had no way out. These 10 devil cultivators all came from the true devil sect. In the past, they were not afraid of life and death, and devil cultivators were not afraid of death. This was something that everyone in the myriad realms knew, but as their cultivation continued to rise, they also began to cherish their lives more and more. After all, it was not easy to cultivate to this level. Su Yun could understand that once he died, all of his efforts and good fortune would become an illusion. However, the current situation did not allow for fear. A day later, Su Yun led the 11 of them and finally arrived at the Cloud Creek Plain. This was the southwest side of the Immortal Court. It was a 5-day journey from the Immortal Court. There were no spirit mines here and there were very few immortal cities. Thus, very few immortals appeared here. Perhaps many people did not know why the group escorting the eternal young god Arrow would head this way. After all, the direction of the Immortal Realm Gate was not here, but Su Yun, who had obtained all of Zhan Zhuoyang's memories, knew everything. Here, there was a teleportation point that the Immortal Court had secretly set up, and this point was like a celestial gate that led to the myriad realms. Once one entered this door, the eternal young god Arrow would be sent to the true devil realm within a few breaths of time. Chapter 1185. Ever since the riot in the Immortal Sect, the Immortal Court had made many important changes in the management of the immortal world. After experiencing the pain of the true devil realm, the Immortal Court took advantage of the time when the people of the true devil realm escaped into the underworld to secretly set up a few teleportation points that went straight to the true devil realm. As long as the people of the true devil realm left the underworld and returned to the true devil realm, the people of the Immortal Court could enter the true devil realm in an instant and exterminate all the devil cultivators. The current Immortal Court had already placed great importance on the true devil realm, especially after the devil cultivator appeared in the immortal world. The Immortal Court had already viewed the true devil realm as their #1 enemy. However, from Zhan Zhuoyang's memories, he knew that other than dealing with the true devil realm, the Immortal Court was also investigating and guarding against a mysterious force. This force was the force that caused the chaos in the Immortal Sect. The only thing that made people feel fortunate was that Su Qing was currently in the midst of her transformation, and was hidden inside the sword sheath. Many of the immortals in the immortal world were unable to lock onto her exact location, causing the Peerless Sect and Su Yun to be much more relaxed. Now that there were no longer so many thieves staring at Su Qing, Su Yun did not have to worry anymore. Arriving at the Shi Xia Yun Plains, there was no one around. The 10 devil cultivators surveyed the surroundings, then returned and reported to Su Yun that it was safe. "Master, what should we do now?" Faceless asked. "You lead these 10 fellows over there to set up the formation." "Formation? What array?" "The Aura Concealment Formation uses the immortal stone slab as the foundation of the formation." As Su Yun spoke, he took out a huge white stone slab and placed it on the ground. At the same time, he took out a lot of materials that he had prepared beforehand from his space bag. "When we fight later, your target is the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. I will deal with the guards. You immediately put the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow on the immortal stone slab carved with the aura concealing array to hide all the aura of the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. Then, quickly transport it to the Immortal Seeking Sect, understand?" "Yes. Master, you said you will deal with the guards?" Faceless found it hard to understand and asked in astonishment, "My lord, do you plan to deal with these tens of thousands of people alone?" "Yes." Su Yun nonchalantly nodded his head, then looked at these people and said, "You guys should quickly start setting up the array, there's not enough time." When they heard this, they hurriedly ran over, picked up the materials on the ground, and began to carve a formation on the immortal stone slab. However, after hearing Su Yun's shocking words, no one could react in time. It felt like Su Yun did not call them over to deal with the people from the immortal court, but purely to let them transport the items. From the very beginning, Su Yun didn't plan to let them fight with the immortal court? The 10 devil cultivators were especially shocked, and so was Faceless. It turned out that in Su Yun's mind, the enemy that was extremely powerful in their hearts was already someone that he was prepared to attack. In fact, in the hearts of the devil cultivators, the demon lord of the true devil sect was like their god. Because after several battles, the demon lord had given them hope, and those supreme existences that they could only look up to and not blaspheme were like grass in his eyes. The 10 devil cultivators were still in a trance. When they thought that the person standing beside them was the war god of the devil world, they became extremely excited. After spending half a day, the concealing aura formation was finally completed. Su Yun waved his hand, and Faceless and the 10 devil cultivators immediately hid themselves. Su Yun activated the power of the Imperial Battle Robe and fused with his surroundings, concealing his figure. Now, he just had to wait. Su Yun quietly looked at the entrance of the Cloud Creek Plain, looking into the distance, but his mind was unable to calm down. Su Yun had not completely digested the information he had received from Zhan Zhuiyang. Although Zhan Zhuiyang was only a level 4 Immortal Court envoy, he knew a lot of things about the Immortal Court. The reason why the Immortal Court was powerful was not only because they had many elites and talents, but also because of their solid foundation. However, very few people knew how the Immortal Court was formed and how it developed. Zhan Zhuiyang's father was once the Imperial Blade Envoy of the Immortal Court, and was also one of the early elites of the Immortal Court. After sacrificing himself on a mission, Zhan Zhuiyang received his father's blessing and became a Stage 5 Envoy of the Immortal Court. Due to his father's close friend, he was able to advance to the Stage 4 within a few years, but with his methods, it would be extremely easy for him to advance to the Stage 3, but he did not do so. Zhan Zhuiyang's father had left behind many treasures, and one of them was a book that recorded the development of the Immortal Court. This book was written by his father, and the contents inside were vivid and bloody. At the time, the immortal world was in chaos, and at that time there were many sects in the immortal world, but they were not unified. After the establishment of the Immortal Court, in order to quickly strengthen themselves, they would usually use the method of annexation, and the so-called annexation was to slaughter the entire immortal sect and seize their resources. The Immortal Court did not need those sects to surrender. What they wanted was iron and blood, to use their own methods to establish a frightening law, to use their own methods to rule the entire immortal world, and under the leadership of the Supreme Expert, they had indeed done it. However, before the Immortal Court was on the right track, they had destroyed nearly 1,000 sects, and countless immortals had been slaughtered. After the establishment of the Immortal Court, the so-called law was not perfect enough, causing many evildoers to go unpunished, many unjust cases occurred, and innocent people were implicated. In fact, this kind of thing was like the establishment of a dynasty, no matter which dynasty it was. At the beginning of its establishment, after the tempering of time, if it was not improved, it would be destroyed sooner or later, but if it could be improved in time, it could continue to develop and grow. If that was all, Su Yun did not have any ill feelings towards the Immortal Court, but the history book of the Immortal Court, recorded by Zhan Zhuiyang's father, did not only describe these things. Could it be that they have always been looking for that thing? Su Yun murmured. At this time, a large number of black dots floated over from the distant horizon. These black dots were densely packed, like ants moving quickly together. As they approached, the dots grew larger and larger, gradually taking the shape of a person. The Immortal Court's team, that was transporting the Eternal Sun Divine arrows, had arrived. Su Yun collected his thoughts and looked towards the direction of Faceless, who was in the dark, and saw them nodding, indicating that they were ready. The team gradually approached, accompanied by bursts of abnormally dazzling red light. That was the light coming from the middle of the crowd. The tens of thousands of people from the Immortal Court formed a circle, densely packed, and marched forward. At the center of them was a huge flying magical tool, which was 3 meters tall. Below it were 2 lifelike and majestic statues of white tigers, and above the statues was a layer of fiery red stone slab. There was a formation imprinted on the stone slab, and when the formation was activated, a small sun floated above it, and a huge and sharp fiery red arrow pierced through the small sun. This was the eternal sun divine arrow. The formation on the stone slab could not be closed, and it could not be kept in a spatial bag, otherwise the formation would stop, and the eternal sun divine arrow would be useless. Therefore, Su Yun could only ask Faceless and the others to transport it away. Su Yun pulled out the spirit sword he bought from Big Dog from the sword sheath. Although this sword did not seem to have any special use for now, with Su Yun's cultivation, he no longer cared about the shape, characteristics, or sharpness of the weapon he used. His swordsmanship had already begun to advance to the point where having no sword was better than having a sword. He leaped up and floated over, directly in front of the Immortal Court's troop. When he approached, the troops hurriedly stopped. Swoosh! Almost all the people from the Immortal Court took out their immortal treasures and weapons at Su Yun, and stared at him with vigilant eyes. "Who are you? Get out of the way, or you will die without a burial place." An immortal with a flag on his back flew out and shouted at Su Yun angrily. But Su Yun did not answer. Seeing this, the immortal waved his hand without hesitation and said, "Take him down." Yes. Immediately, 10 people from the Immortal Court rushed up, wanting to attack Su Yun. However, at this moment, Su Yun did not have the slightest intention of showing mercy. He suddenly raised his eyes, and his eyes suddenly turned blood red. His body flickered, and when he stabilized, the 10 people from the Immortal Court were already standing in the same place, as if they were frozen. "Hey, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and take this person down?" The immortal with the flag on his back shouted anxiously. But after a moment, the 10 immortals' bodies gradually disintegrated, and he shut his mouth. The 10 people turned into minced meat and died. Seeing this, the surrounding people all revealed a look of horror. Instant kill. Instant kill. And no one could see clearly how he did it. In an instant, everyone around knew that this person's strength was abnormally strong. "What's going on? Why aren't you moving forward? Bastard, don't you know that if you delay, all of us will be punished?" At this moment, a fiendish voice came from the crowd, and a strong man with a fierce face and a big blade on his shoulder pushed the crowd and walked over. "Lord! Lord! Lord!" the people from the Immortal Court shouted anxiously. As soon as the strong man walked out of the crowd, he immediately aimed at Su Yun, who was outside the crowd. He snorted inwardly, and walked over with the big blade on his shoulder, his whole body filled with a domineering aura. "Bastard, who are you?" The strong man looked at Su Yun casually, and shouted in a rough voice. "Give me the eternal sun divine arrow, and you will not die," Su Yun said. As soon as his words fell, the whole place fell silent, and then exaggerated laughter burst out. "Ha ha 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 ha!" The strong man laughed so hard that he almost burst into tears. After a while, he stopped laughing, and looked at Su Yun while laughing and shouted, "Little boy, do you know who we are? Ha ha, you actually hit the main character of the Eternal Sun Divine arrow. Do you know how to write the word death? Ha 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 ha. Death? Do you know how to write it?" Su Yun turned around and asked. Chapter 1186. The big-sized man was startled. Xian'er frowned, her eyes widened as she stared at Su Yun, a faint light flashing in her eyes. He seemed to be spying on something, but a moment later, his expression turned ugly, and he couldn't help but take half a step back. Damn it! He couldn't see through this guy's cultivation. Who the hell was he? Since he came here alone, he must have come prepared. The big-sized man thought. However, Su Yun was here to retrieve the item, so he had to end the battle quickly. He would not give his opponent too much time to think, so he immediately raised the spirit sword and rushed towards the big-sized man. When he pushed his speed to the limit, the tens of thousands of people from the immortal court were unable to catch his movements. Only the big-sized man could vaguely sense his figure. The big-sized man had a cultivation of the first stage of the spirit god realm, and in the vast immortal world, he was already an extremely powerful existence. However, facing Su Yun, who was at the fifth stage of the spirit god realm, his cultivation seemed to be lacking. His heart turned cold, and he immediately waved the exaggerated and gigantic blade. The wind from the long blade exploded from the edge of the blade, and a pressure that could shatter the void dispersed in all directions. The immortals at the side all retreated due to the big-sized man's sudden action, and the entire formation of the immortal court instantly fell into chaos. At this moment, tens of thousands of terrifying sword images appeared in the air. The people from the immortal court could not see the sword images at all. Only the big-sized man with the cultivation of the spirit god realm could see that the sword images suddenly appeared, like the bloody mouth of the abyss ghost god. When the big-sized man saw this scene, his scalp went numb. He realized that his blade was useless against that guy. In a moment of danger, the big-sized man quickly turned his body, wanting to dodge, but the sword images were too fast and too dense. He could only barely dodge the vital part. Poochie, his skin and flesh were cut by a large number of sword images, causing blood to spurt out. He staggered and fell to the ground, unable to stand steadily. Seeing the big-sized man's appearance, the immortals around were dumbstruck. They did not even realize what had happened, and only saw the big-sized man being suppressed in an instant. "My lord!" The people from the immortal court immediately rushed over. "Quick! Immediately inform the immortal court and ask them to send supreme expert to suppress this." Seeing that something was wrong, the big man immediately shouted at the people beside him. When the bystanders heard this, they hurriedly took out their communication magic treasures and prepared to ask for help from the celestial court. However, just as they took out their magic treasures, a cold light swept over and instantly slashed it. "I said that if you hand over the eternal sun divine arrow, I can let you go," Su Yun bellowed. "Bastard, how dare you provoke the immortal court? You'll die a horrible death." The big-sized man was exposed. His skin suddenly turned red, his chi instantly increased, the big blade in his hand also became bigger, chopping towards Su Yun's head. But Su Yun did not dodge and allowed it to slash. He raised his hand, and the spirit sword was extremely light, like a spirit. With his movements, it nimbly pierced towards the burly man's heart. Dang! The big blade slashed at Su Yun's head, but was blocked by the imperial battle robe. Puff! The big man's body was pierced by the spirit sword, and his bloody heart was directly pierced out by the sword like a peach. The burly man's body trembled as he stared at the sword on his body. His face was filled with astonishment. This guy. Just what cultivation does he have? The big-sized man was shocked. Su Yun was also frowning. He lowered his head to look at the sword in his hand, and for some reason, he felt that the sword was not an ordinary sword, because when it was stained with blood, the sword seemed to show signs of pulsation. Forget it. Su Yun activated his immortal chi, and the big blade that was pressing down on his head was instantly shattered. The immortal chi followed the spirit sword and entered the big-sized man's body, causing his body to shatter. The big-sized man died. This first stage of the spirit profound god did not even last 100 rounds in Su Yun's hands. Such a method instantly shocked the 10,000 immortals. Su Yun did not show any mercy this time. Since they were still unwilling to leave after persuading them twice, then he could only kill them all. The immortal chi surged out from his arms like two wind dragons, blowing towards the immortals. They were densely packed and surrounded Su Yun, but were blown away by the immortal wind. Their bodies were even torn apart by the immortal wind. They were in a sorry state. The seemingly aggressive and mighty army was directly turned into a mess by Su Yun alone. Faceless and the 10 devil cultivators, who were hiding in the shadows, were all dumbstruck. Demon Lord. Just how strong is the Demon Lord? One of the devil cultivator muttered as he stared at the scene unblinkingly. However, no one around him answered his question. The people of the immortal court started to retreat in defeat. They realized that no matter what magic treasure they used, they could not harm Su Yun in the slightest. He was simply an invincible existence. Even though they had over 10,000 people, they were all useless in front of him. Finally, after a stalemate with Su Yun for less than 100 breaths of time, someone chose to retreat. With the big-sized man dead, they no longer had a leader, adding on the fact that Su Yun had displayed too terrifying of a strength. Even if they were suppressed in numbers, they would not have any advantage, so more and more people chose to flee. With someone fleeing, the rest of the people would not resist anymore. After all, they still knew their own capabilities. In the blink of an eye, the 10,000 people had actually fled into the distance and disappeared without a trace. Su Yun did not chase after them. His purpose for coming here today was not to kill. Although these immortals were nothing in his eyes, if he were to kill them, it would take a lot of effort. Furthermore, the eternal sun god arrow had been lost. Even if he slaughtered this group, it would be difficult to hide the truth. One had to know that there was still an envoy in the immortal court, and from Zhan Zhuiyang's memories, he knew that other than the envoy, the immortal court had many special methods that the immortals of the outside world did not know about. After the group fled, Su Yun waved his hand, and Faceless and the 10 devil cultivators immediately rushed out, mounted the eternal sun god arrow, and directly headed towards the direction of the immortal seeking sect. Master, aren't you coming with us? Seeing that Su Yun was still standing there, Faceless immediately turned his head and asked. The matter is not over yet, you guys go back first. The people from the immortal court are about to arrive. I have to block them here. We can't let them know your movements, otherwise we can only give up on the eternal sun god arrow. Su Yun said. Upon hearing that, Faceless nodded thoughtfully. Move faster, follow the route I gave you before, try to avoid the eyes and ears of the immortal court, take the small path, and transport the eternal sun god arrow into the immortal seeking sect as soon as possible. Yes. Faceless nodded and the group set off. When they gradually disappeared into the horizon, Su Yun sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and meditated, quietly waiting. The immortal court was alert. There was a sensor on the eternal sun god arrow. This sensor could not be removed, at least not in a short period of time, and when the eternal sun god arrow passed through the hands of someone not from the immortal court would immediately be alerted. So Su Yun did not consider slaughtering the group to buy time. Because when Faceless and the others touched the eternal sun god arrow, the experts of the immortal court were already rushing over. This uninhabited Cloud Creek plain was abnormally quiet. Only a gust of wind from an unknown source was blowing over. Su Yun closed his eyes, slowly recuperating. After an unknown period of time, a dot floated over from the horizon. When the dot appeared on the horizon, it instantly disappeared, and when it reappeared, it was already standing in front of Su Yun. It was a man wearing a fiery red armor, holding a sword with both hands. The man had long hair hanging down to his waist, fair skin, and a delicate face, with a faint smile hanging from the corner of his mouth, and a faint smile in his eyes. The fiery red armor and the fiery red sword in his hand were both imprinted with black runes, looking extremely extraordinary. His appearance was very sudden, but it was all within Su Yun's expectations. He raised his head, and the pale face under the cloak reflected on the man's body. From Zhan Zhuiyang's memory, he learned that this man was called Fire Mist Sword Immortal by the people of the Immortal Court, and belonged to the special department of the Immortal Court, the Army Group. They were pure thugs of the Immortal Court, and they solved some extremely special matters for the Immortal Court. Of course, these so-called thugs were not ordinary thugs. In the Immortal Court they had the absolute right to speak, but usually they would not get involved in too many matters of authority, and they rarely spoke. They even rarely appeared in the important ceremonies of the Immortal Court, so the impression they gave people had always been extremely mysterious. "Are you waiting for me?" the man asked. His voice was very pleasant to hear. "Yes." "Where's the eternal Yang God arrow?" The man smiled and asked again. "It's taken away." "Isn't it on you?" "Yes." "Then what should I do?" The man was a little vexed. "Go back, just say that you can't find it." Su Yun stood up, and suggested a solution that was very suitable for him. "This isn't too good, I can't hand it over." "Then what do you want?" Su Yun asked. The man thought hard and was at a loss. Suddenly, his expression relaxed, his eyes lit up, and he said happily, "If I carry your head and bring your soul back, maybe I can report it." "All right." Su Yun nodded. "You agree?" "Yes, I agree." Su Yun's gaze shifted to the sword in his hand, his left hand gently caressed the blade, and said, "But my friend doesn't seem to agree, you have to get it to agree." "That's easy." The man laughed and then walked towards Su Yun. But just as he took his first step, billions of sparks suddenly appeared around Su Yun, like an iron bucket, surrounding him so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. The black red mist blade in his hand immediately ignited at this moment. However, just as the billions of sparks appeared, before they could be ignited by the Fire Mist Sword Immortal, they suddenly hissed and disappeared. Su Yun quietly looked at the Fire Mist Sword Immortal, his face expressionless. "You're more powerful than I imagined. Then what do you plan to do? Won't it be fine if I break your sword?" he said, smiling innocently. Chapter 1187. When he activated his immortal chi, the entire cloud stream plain seemed as if it was about to burn. The temperature rose rapidly, and the entire cloud plain turned fiery red. The smile on the Fire Mist Sword Immortal's face became even lighter, but when he waved his sword, every strike seemed extremely heavy. The blade of the sword released a large amount of sparks. These sparks were like a meteor shower that streaked across the sky, beginning to drift in all directions. "This is domain?" Su Yun looked around and said indifferently. "Yes, do you like it?" The man laughed. "It's just SOSO." Su Yun walked towards the man. As soon as he moved, the entire Cloud Creek plain actually ignited. The thick clouds spat out a huge fire that shot into the sky, completely surrounding the two people above. The blazing temperature of hundreds of thousands of degrees directly enveloped Su Yun. However, regardless of whether it was the Fire Mist Sword Immortal or Su Yun, this temperature was useless against him. The current Su Yun, unless he threw him into the center of the sun, this temperature alone would not have any effect on him. Interesting. Seeing that Su Yun was not affected by the effects of his domain, the smile on the man's face became no longer as relaxed as before. He was starting to get serious. Buzz, 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 buzz. At this time, waves of sword hums were produced, and the burning sword in his hand began to tremble crazily. Every time the sword edge trembled, the flames on the entire plains would also sway, and the flames around Su Yun's body were doing their best to twitch his body, as if the flames had turned into a blade. As the sword trembled more and more frequently, the frequency at which the flames cut his body also increased. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal bent his body, his left arm facing backwards, holding onto the extremely long flame sword with one hand. In the midst of the flames, he directly charged towards Su Yun. Halfway through, he stomped his feet, and his left arm quickly moved backwards, striking the sword hilt. The impact from his arm struck the sword hilt, causing the flames on the flame sword to become even more intense, and his strength increased crazily. Both of his hands tightly gripped onto the sword, like a flying rocket. When he got close to Su Yun, his body also started to spin, and the surrounding flames seemed to be absorbed by him, continuously flowing into his body. In the blink of an eye, one man and one sword had actually transformed into a majestic and mighty flaming dragon, roaring as it charged forward. Such a terrifying aura and suffocating destructive aura was enough to make any spirit profound god existence tremble in fear. This fire mist sword immortal was at least an existence that was close to the 5th stage of the spirit profound god. The immortal court was indeed full of experts. Even a figure like him was only part of the army squad, and was not a special existence. Zhan Zhuiyang knew very little about the military group. It was a rather mysterious organization in the immortal court, because it was under the direct command of the president. Rank 4 envoys like them could never come into contact with it, not even rank 3 profound envoys could communicate with it directly. No one knew how many people there were in the troop, or how strong each person was. This time, the Fire Mist Sword Immortal took action because the Eternal Yang Divine Arrow was related to the extermination of the demon dwellers, so the Immortal Court attached great importance to it. Su Yun activated the Immortal Qi, and quickly condensed it in front of him, transforming into a thick wall of Immortal Qi. When the wall of Qi appeared, even the surrounding flames were dispersed. The flaming dragon's aura did not decrease, and directly attacked. Su Yun focused his eyes, and vaguely, he seemed to be able to see the fire dragon opening its mouth and roaring, and there seemed to be a flash of sword light. He gripped the hilt of the spirit sword tightly and took a step forward. "It's here." The roaring fire dragon fiercely smashed into the wall of Immortal Qi. Bang! The vast sound echoed to the ends of the world. The clouds above the Cloud Creek plain immediately began to crumble. As for the flames on the cloud, they were like blooming roses, starting to bloom outwards. The dragon of rage instantly dissipated, and the destructive power fiercely supported Su Yun's body, but it was unable to make him retreat even half a step. The sword quickly attacked, revealing its killing move, but clang! A clear sound blossomed within the raging flames. The spirit sword in Su Yun's hand accurately blocked the Fire Mist Sword Immortal's flaming sword. That terrifying murderous aura was directly blocked, unable to advance by even half an inch. Interesting. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal chuckled. He exerted force with both of his arms, wanting to knock Su Yun away, but realized that Su Yun's strength was shockingly strong. He was unable to bounce him away, and could only borrow the force to retreat, pulling apart the distance. He blasted the sky and earth apart, the universe was incinerated, but the other party was not harmed in the slightest. At this moment, the Fire Mist Sword Immortal also understood that the existence in front of him was not as easy to deal with as he had imagined. Fire Chain. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal lightly waved his sword, and the surrounding flames shot out a large amount of iron chain-shaped flames, entangling towards Su Yun. Su Yun continued to activate the Imperial Battle Robe, intending to expel the flames, but when the fire chain approached, it did not turn into smoke and dissipate as he had expected. Instead, it directly wrapped around his body, binding him tightly. He frowned, looked down, and realized that these fire chains were not formed from Fire Mist Sword Immortal's Immortal Qi, but were real things. Under the flames, there were indeed thick chains. This was a magic treasure. The iron chains started to tighten on their own, as though they wanted to strangle Su Yun to death. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal laughed, and his body suddenly disappeared. Following that, a figure could be seen moving quickly with Su Yun as the center. He went straight to the point, charging straight to the point, but did not injure Su Yun. Instead, he waved his sword randomly in the air. Was he casting a spell? Su Yun thought. Although the fire mist sword immortal was strong, it also made Su Yun very interested. His sword technique was not a direct slash, but used the sword to perfectly unleash his immortal chi, perfectly displaying the greatest lethality of his power. This was completely different from the sword arts experts he had met before. He took a deep breath, and suddenly exerted force with both of his arms, breaking all the iron chains with a fierce force. However, the fire mist sword immortal seemed to have completed his spell. His body that was moving at a high speed suddenly stopped, and he directly stood in front of Su Yun, holding onto his sword with both hands. He slashed towards him. His attack did not seem to be an attack to attack Su Yun, but more like an attack to guide something. As expected, before the attack could hit Su Yun, bursts of dazzling light suddenly shot over from all directions. There was no way to dodge the attack. After touching his body, Su Yun felt that his entire body was not injured in the slightest, nor did he feel any pain. However, his soul felt an extremely painful burning sensation. A direct attack on the soul? Was this a mental spell? But it didn't seem like it. Su Yun frowned. He felt that he had underestimated his enemy. He stared at the fire mist sword immortal who was slashing at him, and suddenly raised his spirit sword, knocking the flaming sword away, and then kicked towards his abdomen. The fire mist sword immortal thought that Su Yun's soul had been corroded by his spell and was in so much pain that he could not move. Unexpectedly, Su Yun's reaction speed and attack were not affected in the slightest. His body flew out like a shooting star, directly flying out of the Cloud Creek plain. When he regained his senses, he anxiously used his chi to stabilize his body, but just as he activated his immortal chi, the intense pain from his abdomen almost caused him to fall unconscious again. Looking down, his entire abdomen had actually caved in, and the armor on his body had directly split open. What a powerful force! This was the only thought in the fire mist sword immortal's mind. When he finally stabilized his body, Su Yun had already rushed over. He would not blindly defend, because time did not allow him to. He could only finish the battle quickly, otherwise it would attract more immortal court experts, which would only be disadvantageous to him. It's not that I'm looking down on you now, it's you who's looking down on me. The smile on the fire mist sword immortal's face gradually disappeared. He raised his sword high up, the tip of the sword pointed towards the sky, and a wave of immortal energy flew towards the sky, mobilizing the starfire, and directly descended. A beam of light descended from the sky and struck Su Yun's body. He realized that the immortal chi that he had overflowed was automatically ignited, and could not be used at all. Heavenly Moon Sword Technique. The fire mist sword immortal suddenly shouted, and actually wielded his sword with both arms, slashing towards Su Yun. He was completely unaffected by the light pillar that descended from the sky, and could use sword techniques at will. Su Yun did not expect the fire mist sword immortal to be proficient in close combat, but compared to that, Su Yun was more concerned about the sword in his hand. Divine Wind Sword Technique. Su Yun bellowed, and his body suddenly disappeared into the light pillar, and the flaming sword directly pounced on empty air. The target had disappeared. The fire mist sword immortal's eyes tensed up. Wung wung wung. Waves of sword cries suddenly came from behind him. The fire mist sword immortal anxiously turned around to defend, but the sword cries were actually slower than the speed at which the sword was thrusting towards him. When he heard the sword cries, the sword had already pierced through his armor, piercing through his body, and a terrifying immortal chi was injected into his body. It's over. Su Yun's eyes flashed with killing intent. His palm moved slightly, and was about to twist the spirit sword and shatter the fire mist sword immortal. In that moment of life and death, the fire mist sword immortal seemed to have sensed the danger. He suddenly gritted his teeth and spat out a flaming pearl from his mouth. The moment the pearl left his mouth, with a bung sound, Su Yun and the fire mist sword immortal's bodies immediately twisted, and the immortal chi that he had injected into the spirit sword also couldn't help but stagnate for a short period of time. When everything returned to normal, he was actually a kilometer away from the fire mist sword immortal. Life-saving treasure? Su Yun stared at the shattered pearl, his eyebrows slightly raised. You're very strong, I'm not your match. The fire mist sword immortal wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, held the wound on his chest, and panted slightly as he laughed. Su Yun did not say anything, and continued to fly towards him. It seems like I can't defeat you by myself. This time, I underestimated your strength. I really didn't expect that in this vast immortal world, there would be such an interesting fellow like you. The fire mist sword immortal laughed. You don't want my head and soul anymore? I can't afford it. I'll leave it with you first, and we'll talk about it later. The fire mist sword immortal laughed, and then suddenly turned around and fled into the distance. His speed was as fast as it could be, as if it was done in one go, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. Su Yun stood rooted to the ground, staring blankly, forgetting to chase after him. Chapter 1188. Whoosh! A fiery beam of light streaked across the horizon, as if tearing a hole in the firmament. The guards stationed at the gate of the immortal court immediately became vigilant when they saw the person flying over. When they finally saw who the person was, they hastily let him pass. Fire Mist Sword Immortal gripped his longsword tightly. His expression was solemn, and the smile on his face was gone. He used all his strength to rush forward. After entering the immortal court, he ran toward the upper floors of the immortal court like a madman. The people of the immortal court greeted him along the way, but ignored him. He didn't know how many floors he had run up, but he knew that there were no more people of the immortal court here. The entire floor was quiet and empty. Although the floors were high, there was no light. He could only use treasures to illuminate the path. The entire floor was unusually dark. Fire Mist Sword Immortal seemed to be used to the atmosphere here. He didn't stop and directly walked toward the bronze door at the innermost part of the floor. The door looked very grand, but under the dim light, it gave off a mysterious feeling, especially the two huge words on top of the door, which made it look even more solemn. Army Group. This was the famous and mysterious organization, Army Group, in the Immortal Court. A person stood in front of the door. This person wore armor and a helmet that covered his face. He was thin and small, and the armor didn't seem to match him at all. I want to see Lord. Fire Mist Sword Immortal quickly walked over and cupped his fist. Lord is cultivating. Come back another time, a very androgynous voice sounded. It was hard to tell whether the voice belonged to a man or a woman. The eternal Sun Divine arrow was taken away. I'm no match for that person, Fire Mist Sword Immortal immediately said. The person hesitated for a moment, then said plainly, "Wait here." With that, the person pushed the door open and entered. After a while, he came out again. He pushed the door open completely and said to Fire Mist Sword Immortal, "Go in." Fire Mist Sword Immortal cupped his fists and quickly walked inside. After entering the door, there was another door inside. Fire Mist Sword Immortal walked to that door and cupped his fists. Fire Mist Sword Immortal greets Lord. An abnormally hazy and indistinct voice came from behind the door. Fire Mist, have you completed the task I gave you? Fire Mist is useless. I failed the task. Fire Mist Sword Immortal knelt on the ground and lowered his head. Please punish me, Lord. Failed. The voice of the Lord behind the gate became serious. I am very confident in you. If you fail, it only means that the other party is indeed very strong. Initial judgment, it should be above the 5th stage of the Spirit Profound God. Moreover, his Dharma treasure is exquisite, and I couldn't break through his defense. I couldn't fight him head-on, and could only watch as he snatched the eternal sun divine arrow. Fire Mist Sword Immortal said with his head lowered. Do you know who that person is? My lord, I do not know. Fire Mist Sword Immortal shook his head. However, that person seemed to know my identity and knew that I would come to reinforce the eternal sun divine arrow, so he deliberately waited there. Although it was the first time I met that person, it didn't seem like it was the first time I came into contact with him. How strange. Oh! A slightly suspicious voice came from behind the door, and then there was no more sound. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal crouched with its head lowered, as if it was waiting for the sound behind the gate. After an unknown period of time. Now that things have come to this, you can no longer turn back. There's no need to be sad. My lord. Fire Mist Sword Immortal's face suddenly turned pale, but the voice behind the gate continued to come. The military group's rules cannot be broken. Go to the bitter prison to receive your punishment. You don't have to worry about this matter. Shogu has gone to Wontai City to investigate the disappearance of the Ministry of Revenue's Zhan Zuyang. When he comes back, I will ask him to look for the eternal sun divine arrow. You rest first. After that, there was no more sound behind the gate. Fire Mist Sword Immortal's face was especially ugly. He widened his eyes and looked at the gate. There was no longer a smile on his face. After a moment, he took a light breath, bowed to the gate again, and left. Fire Mist Sword Immortal was defeated, and the eternal sun divine arrow was temporarily fine. Su Yun originally wanted to pursue, but he considered that if the Immortal Court sent more experts to fight, it would be extremely disadvantageous to him. Now that the suspicion of the Immortal Seeking sect had been cleared, if his identity was exposed again, it would be bad. Since the eternal sun divine arrow was already in his hands, he could also proceed with the next step of the plan. There was no need to complicate matters. Su Yun looked around the Cloud Creek plain, and after confirming that there were no traces left, he immediately returned to the Immortal Seeking sect. Faceless led the 10 demon dwellers along the path that Su Yun had planned before. Although the Immortal Court had strict control and was checking the identity of immortals everywhere, no matter how many people the Immortal Court had, it was impossible for them to cover the entire immortal world. Su Yun had long ordered Xiang Yang to clearly understand the areas and movements of the Immortal Court people around the Immortal Seeking sect, in order to formulate a route to enter the Immortal Seeking sect. It was a sensitive period, and any disturbance would cause the Immortal Court to be suspicious and bring unnecessary trouble. When Su Yun returned to the Immortal Seeking sect, Faceless had just brought the eternal sun divine arrow into the sect. He bypassed the area where the newly recruited disciples were active, and directly transported it to the place where Su Yun cultivated. After bringing it into the sect, Su Yun started to inspect the strange treasure forged by the Immortal Court, the eternal sun divine arrow. Su Yun had a preliminary understanding of this treasure from Zhan Zuyang's memories. It was a treasure that gathered the wisdom and effort of the Immortal Court's skilled craftsmen, and was also the symbol of the Immortal Court's wealth, ability, and intelligence. In order to prevent it from being stolen, the Immortal Court's skilled craftsmen specially made it so that it could not be placed in personal space, and set it to be unable to pass through a temporary teleportation door, which meant that the thief could not temporarily set up a teleportation door to steal the eternal sun divine arrow. Big brother, what is this? Su Luluo, who heard the sound, saw Su Yun walking around a strange object, and immediately walked over to ask in confusion. This is the key to solving the Immortal Court's envoys. Su Yun said indifferently. Brother, have you confirmed the number of envoys? Su Luluo asked. Yes. Su Yun nodded his head and said, I will make a list of names later and hand it over to Faceless and let him deal with it. It is impossible for the 15 envoys to leave the Immortal Court at the same time, so Faceless will not have the chance. And if we kill them one by one, it will only arouse the suspicion of the people of the Immortal Court. So, this time, we will not attack from outside the immortal court, but from inside. Su Yun said. Attack from the inside? Su Luluo was shocked and said in astonishment, Big brother, don't tell me you plan to sneak into the immortal court? An assassination? No. Su Yun shook his head. Hearing this reply, Su Luluo was completely at a loss. Her fair and delicate face revealed a confused expression. Big brother does not plan to sneak in and assassinate, then how should we deal with those envoys? Su Yun did not say anything, and only looked at the eternal sun divine arrow. Su Luluo was extremely intelligent, seeing that Su Yun was focused on the object. He thought about it carefully, and seemed to have thought of something, and immediately opened his mouth, revealing a look of surprise. Big brother, are you sure you want to rely on this? Right now, we can only use this. Su Yun took a deep breath and said indifferently, Because other than the 15 envoys, there are still a few high-level envoys, and these envoys are directly subordinate to the immortal court. If we cannot take care of them, we cannot take any action. If not, we only need to rely on their miraculous fortune-telling techniques, and we will be completely exposed, and in the future, we will definitely be eradicated by the immortal court. Right now, the immortal court does not suspect us, so we did not use those high-level envoys. If they are suspicious of us, we only need to invite them. I'm afraid that we will not be able to continue staying in the immortal world. But the risk of doing so is too great. Our current situation is already very dangerous. If we don't take the risk, how can we escape? Seeing the determination in Su Yun's eyes, Su Luluo knew that he had already made his decision, and persuading him was useless. Furthermore, other than this method, there was no other way, so he could only give up on persuading him. After thinking for a moment, he asked, Then, when does Big Brother plan to make his move? Although the eternal sun divine arrow has been lost, the immortal court will not give up on their attack on the underworld, nor will they give up on the idea of eradicating the devil cultivator. After all, there are already more than 100 people from the immortal sects who have responded to the immortal court's call to gather, and will follow the immortal court to attack the underworld together. If they suddenly stop, it will only make the hearts of the people from the immortal sects feel cold, and they will feel that the immortal court's actions are like child's play, which will greatly impact their position in the hearts of the people from the immortal world. The hearts of the people are what the immortal court needs to pay attention to the most, so I am sure that they will continue to attack the underworld, but they will definitely delay it for a while. Before they can open the door to the underworld, they will delay it for as long as they can, so we have plenty of time. Hearing that, Su Luluo anxiously asked, Big brother, what's the problem? It's this. Su Yun looked at the eternal sun divine arrow and said, How to transport it to the right place? How do we transport it? Su Luluo was a little confused. It was also her first time coming into contact with the eternal sun divine arrow. After Su Yun's introduction, she suddenly understood and fell into deep thought. Without a doubt, the eternal sun divine arrow was the most crucial step in this operation. If he could not successfully transport it to the right location, then everything would be meaningless. However, this item could not be placed in the space bag, nor could it be thrown into the special space, not even the sword sheath. If he were to openly transport it out, the possibility of it being exposed was extremely high. After all, the sky was filled with the inspectors and patrolmen of the immortal court. After thinking about it, Su Yun could not think of a suitable way. But not long after, Su Luluo's eyes suddenly lit up and said, Big brother, Luluo has a way, it might work. Chapter 1189. Method? What method? Tell me about it. Su Yun immediately said. Seeing Su Luluo pondering for a moment, she smiled and said, Big brother has the Great Ling Long Palace, Hidden Dragon Hall, Carefree Palace, Immortal Seeking Sect, and the 8 Harmonies sect in his hands. Although these 5 immortal sects are only medium-level immortal sects in the immortal world, when these 5 immortal sects join forces, they are an extremely powerful force. However, because the immortal court forbade the immortal world's immortal sects from forming an alliance, it would be fine if there were only 2 immortal sects that were related to each other, but if there were more than 3, the immortal court would definitely oppose it. For these 5 immortal sects to gather in one person's hands, other than suppressing them, there would be no other way for the immortal court to do so. The chi of this eternal young god arrow is not considered strong. Big Brother transported it here and used the concealing aura array to conceal its body, and then quietly transported it here via a small path. Although this method is more dangerous, fortunately Big Brother did it, but Big Brother should have also thought that the Cloud Creek Plain is a remote place, and the reason why the Immortal Court set the entrance to the true Devil Realm there is also because of its remote location, which also provided the conditions for Big Brother to successfully transport the Eternal Young God Arrow back to the sect. As for the road leading to the Immortal Court, not to mention the countless people who are being investigated by the Immortal Court, just the Immortals alone are enough to make this road seem extremely crowded. It is impossible for something like the Eternal Young God Arrow to be safely transported to the side of the Immortal Court. Of course, there is only one way to do it. Luluo, don't beat around the bush, just say it. Su Yun seemed a little anxious. Su Lulua's bright eyes slightly curved, but he did not smile, and said, I found out from Shonger that the Immortal Court has gathered a large amount of resources for this battle, and they are also buying a large amount of pills, equipment and magic treasure from the various immortal cities. Right now there are goods purchased from the Immortal City being transported to the Immortal Court at all times. Big Brother, you can disguise the Eternal Young God Arrow as goods and transport it to the Immortal Court. Disguise as goods? Su Yun's eyes lit up. Yes, send it directly to the Immortal Court's resource department. Brother Jean has prepared a rich spiritual mine for Jean. After Jean discovered it, she immediately reported it to the Immortal Court. The Immortal Court has suffered a great loss and they need this spiritual mine. Hence, Jean was rewarded and promoted to a rank 5 emissary. Coincidentally, the Resource Department's Minister Chen Xinxing has fallen and the Immortal Court is about to go to war to exterminate the Devil Dwellers. Hence, they don't have the time to transfer people from other places to take over Chen Xinxing's position. Hence, they plan to choose someone from the Resource Department to temporarily take over this position. Although Jean has just been promoted to a rank 5 emissary, she still has some confidence. Su Lulu said. Hearing that, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief and said, All right, Luluo, I will leave this matter to you and Xiao Chua. Tell her, after this matter is done, I, Su Yun, will definitely thank her heavily. There's no need to thank me. In the end, Jean and I are family. Brother, you. When Su Luluo said that, he stopped. Su Yun's face changed, but he did not reply. Instead, he chose to avoid the topic and said, The Immortal Court suddenly gathered so many resources, it should not be to exterminate the Devil Dweller. With the power of the Immortal Court, the true Devil Realm is unable to contend against them. I'm afraid they have other goals. Big Brother, you don't have to think about it. Luluo is sure that this time, the Immortal Court will not only make a move against the Devil Dweller, maybe they want to use this opportunity to probe the underworld. Su Luluo changed into a serious expression and said seriously, Probe the underworld? How do you know? All the realms in the heavens, and even the immortal world, are actually restricted by the Immortal Court. The Immortal Court is powerful, and the people of the immortal world do not dare to resist, and can only follow the rules set by them. They say that this is the law of the immortal world, but there are many rules that are extremely tyrannical. In name, it is for the benefit of everyone, but in reality, it is for their own benefit. Many people dare not say anything, because the Immortal Court is not something they can contend against. But the underworld is different. In the 10,000 realms, only the underworld is not under the control of the immortal court's laws, and even the claws of the immortal court have not reached the underworld. If I were to become the chief judge of the immortal court, how could I be willing? The immortal court is now unprecedentedly powerful, and with the help of so many immortal sects, why not use this opportunity to exterminate the devil dweller to go to the underworld? If the underworld is not strong right now, why not destroy it and conquer it together with the underworld? Su Luluo said carefully. Hearing that, Su Yun was enlightened. It had to be said that Su Luluo's analysis was reasonable. If not, why would the immortal court gather so many resources without any reason? If the immortal court wanted to make a move on the underworld, then the Octagon Aniseed side would be in extreme danger. From the looks of it, the underworld was not a place to stay for long. They had to immediately move to another place. Su Yun frowned. But if they wanted to move, even though the 10,000 realms were big, where could they hide from the eyes and ears of the immortal court? He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, I do not know how strong the underworld is, but since they are able to accommodate the devil dweller, they are neither enemies nor friends to us. We must think of a way to stop the immortal court's operation this time. Big brother, we can't even protect ourselves right now. I'm afraid we won't be able to stop the immortal court's actions. The only thing we can do now is to quickly inform the underworld and let them prepare as soon as possible. Tell Xiangyang to send someone to the underworld. Yes. Su Luluo nodded, then turned and left. Once she left, Su Yun's face revealed helplessness and worry. The current true devil realm could only be described as struggling at death's door. The only thing he could do was to do his best to help the true devil realm. After all, if not for the true devil realm, he would not have been able to save Qinger, and he would not be here. He would have died a long time ago. However, the immortal court was like a huge giant. If he wanted to contend against it, he would have to spend years and years. Lord! Just then, the sound of footsteps came from outside, followed by the voice of a devil dweller. What's going on? Su Yun asked. News from the Beiyang. Li Zizai has already returned. He has agreed to Master's plan. However, the Jingyu Imperial Palace has secretly sent 5 immortals to monitor Miss Huai Ro and Miss Fox. Kill them all. Su Yun said indifferently. Yes, sir. After the devil dweller finished speaking, he turned and left. Wait. Just then, Su Yun shouted again. What other orders does Lord Devil Lord have? When you make your move, try not to leave any traces. Yes, sir. With that, he left. Since the Jingyu Imperial Palace wanted to monitor the Beiyang, it meant that they did not trust Su Yun's strength. Since that was the case, Su Yun could only display some of his methods to intimidate the Jingyu Imperial Palace, so that Lin Yujing would not take advantage of him. Su Yun had always been at ease with Su Luluo's work, but the more she worked for Su Yun with all her heart, the more uneasy Su Yun felt. He had vaguely sensed Su Luluo's intentions. He had once asked Xiang Yang to give Su Luluo a large amount of immortal coins and materials every month for his cultivation, but after Su Luluo left the Supreme Divine Tao, he no longer had much interest in cultivation, so he took out a portion of the things that Su Yun had bestowed and sent them to Su Shintian and Shen Xueshue's side, while returning the rest. Even so, Su Yun had no other choice but to follow. In a few days, Su Luluo had already made his preparations. He took out a batch of goods from the immortal-seeking sect and transported them to the nearest immortal city. He pretended to sell them to the merchants that he had already communicated with, and all the merchants had to do was wait for the people from the immortal court to collect the goods. Su Luluo used the best disguise magic treasure. Unless a spirit god-level person came to investigate, they would not be able to see through the disguise of the permanent Yang God arrow, so there was no need to worry about inspecting the good. It had been some time since the immortal court issued the summons. Almost all the immortal sects that responded to the summons had gathered in front of the immortal court. According to the latest battle report, the immortal court had already gathered 1,200,000 immortals, and these immortals were only from the major immortal sections. If the forces sent by the immortal court were included, there would be at least 2 million immortals. These were all the elites of the elite. This army was enough to eradicate 10 true devil realm-s, and he did not know if the underworld would be able to withstand it. Su Yun was even worried that without the permanent Yang God arrow, the immortal court would not be able to easily break through the underworld gate. 7 days later, the person sent by the immortal court to receive the goods arrived at the immortal city where the permanent Yang God arrow was stored. Without any mishaps, the permanent Yang God arrow was transported by the immortal court and headed towards the immortal court. The date for the immortal court to enter the true devil realm and attack the underworld had also been confirmed, which was 10 days later. Su Yun did not dare to be negligent. He immediately had Xiang Yang send a message to Kai Tian, Qin Qianlong, Xing Bai and Wei Ming, telling them to quickly gather their troops and wait for orders to fight at any time. If this operation failed, Su Yun could only choose to fight with his life on the line. Because at this moment, he no longer had a path of retreat. On the 5th day, Su Yun walked straight out of the training grounds and walked out the door alone. It was almost time. It would take some time to reach the immortal court from the immortal seeking sect, and when he arrived there, he still needed to make some preparations, especially the goods that were being transported to the immortal court. He had to retrieve them before they arrived, otherwise it would be troublesome. Su Luluo came over. "Big brother, do you need us to do anything else?" "No need, follow the plan. Faceless has already set off ahead of time. Wei Ming, Qin Qianlong, Xing Bai and Kai Tian are also waiting for me. You stay here to guard. If the situation changes, immediately leave the immortal world, understand?" Su Yun said. Is the power of the immortal seeking sect not moving? Chapter 1190. Before the majestic entrance of the immortal court, a large number of immortals were entering and exiting. At this moment, the immortal court was like a marketplace, bustling with noise and excitement. The floating immortal platforms outside the entrance were also filled with people. There were at least a few thousand immortals on each platform. Everyone sat cross-legged, as though they were cultivating. There were people from the immortal court standing on each immortal platform. No one knew if they were guarding or doing something else. Most of the immortals were flying very low, and most of them were walking on the ground. In the center, a group of people was strolling slowly in the center of the immortal platforms. Most of them were armored guards of the immortal court, while the rest were dressed in luxurious robes. The leader of the group was wearing a gold-rimmed yellow robe and a tall crown, looking very noble. "My lord, most of the people have arrived. I believe they will be assembled in a day," a red-robed man said to the gold-rimmed yellow-robed middle-aged man with cupped fist. His voice was especially respectful. "The assembly will end tomorrow. Once it's over, we'll immediately compile the list and blacklist all those who didn't come. After the battle, we'll punish them according to the procedure. This is the consequence of not upholding the law of the immortal court," the gold-rimmed yellow-robed man said expressionlessly. "Yes, my lord. My lord, we can gather 2 million people right now. With such a force, it will be a piece of cake to annihilate the underworld. I'm afraid the news of our operation has already spread to the underworld. If we set off tomorrow, the people of the underworld will be prepared for it. If we set off today, we may be able to catch them off guard. It will be extremely beneficial to our immortal court," a green-robed middle-aged woman said. "Even so, if we set off early, many sects will be unprepared. I'm afraid it won't be good. Moreover, why would we need to launch a surprise attack? Our army will always bow before them. My lordly, do you think that we can't take down a small underworld? What do you mean, my Lord Zhang? How powerful is our immortal court? Do we fear the underworld? But the immortal court has to deal with too many small fries. Isn't it better to save some strength and use it elsewhere? Better? Humph, how can our immortal court not deal with small fries? I think it's completely unnecessary. That's not right. It's just a precaution. The two of them spoke one after another, neither giving way. The surrounding people argued for a while. Finally, the golden-edged man in yellow spoke. All of you, shut up. Don't make any more noise. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone in the surroundings shut their mouths, and the surroundings instantly quieted down. The two men blushed as they cupped their fists and said to the golden-edged, yellow-robed middle-aged man, "Sir, please forgive us." The golden-rimmed man in yellow looked ahead with his majestic eyes. He didn't stop but said, "Don't look down on the underworld. The immortal court can rule the immortal world and control the myriad of worlds, but we haven't been able to restrain the underworld. It's not that we don't want to, but we're not powerful enough. Do you understand?" As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding people revealed astonished expressions. "Is the underworld very strong?" the person beside him asked cautiously. "Strong." The man in yellow nodded and said, "Because the underworld is a very unique world. The people in the underworld are actually people from the myriad heavens and the immortal realm." "From the myriad worlds and the immortal world? Lord, what do you mean? Do you know why the true devil realm escaped into the underworld, and why the underworld accepted it?" The golden-edged yellow-robed man didn't answer the man's question in a hurry, but directly asked. Everyone shook their heads. "That's because there are devil cultivators in the underworld, and they are stationed in the underworld. The reason why they are able to provide refuge for so many people in the true devil realm is also because this person has a lot of authority in the underworld." The exclamations continued. "When did such a supreme expert appear in the true devil realm?" "That was a long time ago. What I can tell you is that not only are there devil cultivators in the underworld, there are also immortals, mortals, demons. It's like an all-encompassing world, a hodgepodge. It might be chaotic inside, or it might be orderly, but you will never be able to see through this special world." "There are immortals? Doesn't that mean that the ancestors of my immortal court might be inside as well?" "There are immortals, but there are no immortal court people." "Why?" "Because the only people that the underworld does not accept are the people of the immortal court. The underworld is a place of absolute freedom, and the rulers of the underworld believe that the intervention of the immortal court will cause them to lose this land of freedom. Thus, after the immortal court gradually took control of the immortal world, they set up this rule." "Damn it! Isn't this openly opposing our immortal court?" The surrounding people were extremely angry. "Actually, we have launched a few expeditions to the underworld in the past, but we have all returned empty-handed. That was a long time ago, and is a secret of the immortal court, so it is normal for you all to not know about it. Now that the war is imminent, I will tell you all about it." The golden-edged man in yellow suddenly stopped, slightly tilted his head, and said to the people behind him, "The strength of the underworld is actually far stronger than you all can imagine." At that time, our main focus was on the underworld, so we did not immediately take care of the true devil realm, but we did not expect the true devil realm to be so strong. This is a story for the future. As for the battle with the underworld, we arrived on the same day and retreated on the same day. Retreat on the same day? My lord, what's going on? 1,000,000 people, even if they were to stand there and let the people of the underworld cut them down, it wouldn't be possible for it to end so quickly, right? You're right, but an army that had lost its leader, how could they dare to fight head-on? The golden-edged man in yellow said indifferently, "In that battle, we happened to meet the Imperial Hell Sword who had returned from his travels. The leader of the underworld army immediately summoned the Imperial Hell Sword and asked him to defend against the foreign enemies. Unexpectedly, the Imperial Hell Sword rushed into the army of the Immortal Court and beheaded the commander of the army. The commander of the army was beheaded by the Imperial Hell Sword in front of 10,000 experts, and his soul was captured, and no one could do anything to the Imperial Hell Sword. The commander's soul was captured, and the army was terrified, their morale collapsed, and they could only retreat. The strength that the Imperial Hell Sword showed was too terrifying, so no one dared to fight with the underworld, so the battle was lost. "Milord, now that you mention it, I remember that the commander killed by the Imperial Hell Sword is the filial son, Milord Ruxiao?" "Yes, it's him." "So it's really him?" "It is said that after the battle, his soul was returned by the people of the underworld. After his body was restored and resurrected, he still committed suicide out of shame, destroying his own soul." "I'm afraid this is the reason?" "Committed suicide out of shame? Why did I hear that he was committed suicide out of shame? He really committed suicide out of shame." One of the milord wanted to say something, but just as the words were about to come out of his mouth, he realized that something was wrong and quickly changed his words. The golden-rimmed man in yellow swept a glance at the man and said indifferently, "With the Imperial Hell Sword, it won't be easy for us to take down the underworld. Moreover, apart from the Imperial Hell Sword, there are also the 3 commanders of the underworld and the 5 generals of the underworld. These are all peerless experts, we can't underestimate them. If we don't get rid of these people, the underworld will be like a sealed door that will be extremely difficult to open." "Milord, if that's the case, do you have a countermeasure for this operation?" "Countermeasure? Of course we do. The Immortal Court has already drawn up a plan for this operation. We've already investigated the background of the 3 commanders of the underworld and the 5 generals of the underworld. There were definitely over 2 million immortals here. The front of the gate was densely packed, covering the sky and covering the sun. It was an extremely spectacular sight. All of the immortals were dressed in fresh clothes, ready to go. The vast and dense immortal chi was almost about to condense into stone. Especially the number of people floating above the crowd. Although they were dressed differently, the order badges hanging from their waists were the same. These people were all from the Immortal Court. It was probably the first time many people had seen so many Immortal Court soldiers. The people of the immortal sex were arranged differently, making it seem especially chaotic, but the Immortal Court army was ready to go. Their military discipline was strict, and when the bystanders saw them, they were all filled with admiration. Woo! The bugle horn sounded. The banner was raised, and the flags of the various sects were raised as well. The entire army quietened down, and everyone's gazes turned towards the inside of the gate. A white light flashed from within the gigantic gate of the Immortal Court. Following that, waves of drums sounded out, and rows of men and women dressed in snow-white armor with swords on their waists walked out. The moment they appeared, they attracted everyone's attention, including Su Yun. These people were all dignified and spirited, and none of them revealed their chi. It was obvious that they were extremely terrifying experts. These should be Ling Bai's subordinates. Su Yun squinted his eyes. In this expedition, the commander of the Immortal Court army was the man called Ling Bai. From Zhan Zhuiyang's memories, Su Yun was able to understand a little about Ling Bai. He was a veteran of the Immortal Court, and belonged to the top of the second-rank envoys. He had high prestige and sufficient battle experience. In the past, when the Immortal Court conquered other planes, it was always him who appeared, and all of them returned victorious. The people under him were all experienced immortals, their cultivation was extremely high, and their battle experience was especially rich. He believed that anyone who had just met the Immortal Court would know of him. The reason why the Immortal Court sent him out to fight this time was because they were determined to win. After the group of men and women in snow-white armor walked out, in the middle, a man dressed in a gold-rimmed yellow robe sat on an exquisite and gorgeous carriage, following the group out. Lung Bai. Su Yun stared at the person on the carriage. When he appeared, the sect leader or the person in charge of the various immortal sects all flew out, gathered together, and bowed to him. Lung Bai nodded, summoned the sect leaders, and followed behind the carriage. They walked to the front of the army and officially began the ceremony. The ceremony would last for an entire day, and during this period of time, the formations, scrolls and magic treasures that the Immortal Court had prepared beforehand would all be used. After